Пошли. Все вместе. Какие ваши доказательства?
They want you to comply.
Cancel culture is about canceling it.
Cocainum.
Up yours. Woke moralist.
This is systematic bullying that's happening.
Up yours.
And they believe that they can then
Woke
shut us
moralist.
up.
Not only can you take a load, you can take the ultimate load, and even better than that you find your true calling and destiny in your willingness to take the ultimate load.
They seem animalistic is what I mean.
No, they're worse than animals. Up yours.
The woke mob, they ruin everything.
They stopped
Woke
Ben
moralist.
Shapiro from going to events and speaking. They stopped Ann Coulter from doing it.
I will never surrender even a single inch of ground to a pitchfork mob.
You never cave to the mob.
We will never bow to the mob. Ever. No matter what.
Have it your way, buddy. You sons of bitches. Beta! I did everything right and they indicted me.
Do you see the final expression of cancel culture in terrorist groups like?
We'll see who cancels who.
Hello.
Hey.
What's up?
How'd you guys enjoy the intro?
I love that intro. Yeah,
I love that.
that's killer.
I was asking myself, what were any of those personages actually one of you guys?
Yeah,
Our
They
faces
are.
were superimposed on. I was Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I'm pretty happy about that. But
David's is the best.
Yeah, I don't skip that intro. There's like 2 shows where I don't skip the intro, and that's one of them. It's great. I love that. Yeah.
it is awesome. Well, we have fantastic guests on today. So the Letterhack, and or also known as Matt, and Harvey Kaye here. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves one at a time, and then we will get into why you are here.
Harvey, I'm riding your coattails through this whole thing. So you, by all means, please go first.
That's very sweet. Since the best coattails I've ever worn, you drew on me. Okay, so I've known Mike for a long time. Okay, for everyone should know that I used to do your show a lot. I recall, and he's not here this evening, but I know Matt Binder from my time with Michael Brooks, regular time, and he and I actually did a live show together with Michael. That is Matt and I. And if Rebecca comes later, I do believe I know Rebecca from the Ben Dixon show. Is that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, I live up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm Professor Emeritus of Democracy and Justice at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I retired when the pandemic struck because as much as I love doing things like this, I didn't want to lecture to students in mass online like that. I'm 74 years old, so I can speak from experience. How's that? I am a historian and a political scientist and a sociologist, but everything I've done of consequence is probably historical and political. And I've done a lot of work on Thomas Paine. That's my sort of claim to fame. My first work was on the British Marxist historians, who are still very much a part of my thinking. And I've also done a lot of work these past 10 years on FDR, which is the basis in part for what Matt and I put together as the new Economic Bill of Rights comic strip. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys. I've only heard tremendous things about the leftist mafia. Okay, so I'm thrilled to be here tonight. Just hope I can keep up with you guys.
Oh, of course. It's great to have you.
You're a pro. I am Matt Strackbein, aka the Letterhack. I'm referred to as and self-proclaimed cartoonist for the left. I make comics. I'm a commercial art director. I have been drawing comics and depicting people from alternative, independent left-wing media for several years now in order to promote them and allow people. Look at Mike, man. You're getting.
I got that.
I've got
too
you
in the
already.
background.
I've got.
Mine's right.
David's got it too. That is awesome. I'm flattered. I think that's so cool. But I am trying to promote alternatives to the mainstream media, and likewise alternatives within those alternatives. And so I have segued from just posting cartoons online to interviewing folks on my YouTube channel you guys, all three of you have been there. Often when I'm watching this show, it's such a pleasure for me to go, yes, there's 5 people on screen. I've had them all on my show. I've drawn them all several times because that means that I'm accomplishing my goal. And it's bragging rights. But that's me in a nutshell. I think maybe a lot of people know me from, cartoons, which is pretty cool. I'd like to be known for that above anything else.
So I want to bring up the new Economic Bill of Rights. So this was shared on commondreams.org, which is a site that I use quite often when I'm researching for various stories. Let me bring it in here. So I guess let's start with what inspired you to, how did this idea come about to put this together?
Okay, so let me just preface it or prologue it by saying that I've been working on this Economic Bill of Rights question ever since I began my work on Franklin Roosevelt. In fact, my original idea, I did a book entitled "The Fight for the Four Freedoms: What Made FDR and the Greatest Generation What Truly Great," that is. And my original plan was to write about FDR's call for an Economic Bill of Rights. That was going to be the subject of the book. But my editor said to me, no, let's go bigger than that. Although as I think about it now, it would have been fine. In any case, I have done a series of articles, and I was talking all over the internet and on radio and on TV about this stuff. The idea is rooted in FDR's 1944 State of the Union message, in which, inspired by the fact that Americans in polls basically told him that they wanted social democracy in America. This was in 1943, the polling, and this was based on their success in fighting the Great Depression by way of the initiatives of the New Deal, and fighting fascism in World War II by way of the U.S. war effort. So he went before the nation, and at the heart of his speech that night, he said, we have come to accept that freedom cannot be accomplished when people are in need, that necessitous men are not free men. That's how he put it. And in doing that, he then went on to say, basically, that the time has come where Americans accept the idea of a second Bill of Rights, a new Bill of Rights, an Economic Bill of Rights. And he laid them out, basically, that there should be the second or Economic Bill of Rights to guarantee a job at a living wage. National health care was implied. Food security was implied. Education as far as one's capacities could take one. I mean, the idea, housing, comfortable housing. I mean, he laid out a social democratic vision for America. And amazingly, he was confident that it would be a popular idea, and it was a terribly popular idea. The polling showed that, for example, 85% of Americans in 1943 wanted national health care after the war. And that's 95% of Democrats and 75% of Republicans. So it was across the board something the overwhelming majority of Americans wanted. But he also warned that there was likely to be rightist reaction on hearing this proposal, and he was right. So he then said, if we fail to pursue this path, we may well end up suffering a wave of fascism in this country. So anyhow, Roosevelt died. Americans rallied to it. The labor movement on a grand scale pursued a campaign in hopes of re-electing FDR and getting this Economic Bill of Rights enacted in some form. Now, FDR died in early 1945, and though he passed away, the Economic Bill of Rights idea did not. It did not become law, but it influenced the creation of the GI Bill of Rights, the greatest public welfare and social welfare program in American history, which enabled the growth in the economy and basically the well-being of America through the 40s in the late 40s into the 50s and 60s. But the other thing was that Truman tried to secure national health care. Later, the 1960 Democratic Party platform was written in the form of FDR's Economic Bill of Rights. A. Philip Randolph, the great labor and civil rights leader, proposed a freedom budget. Oh, it's good to be on video because I can show everyone. This is A. Philip Randolph's proposal. But can they see me as well? Yeah. A freedom budget for all Americans. Budgeting resources to achieve freedom from want, which is one of the 4 freedoms that FDR had spoken of during the war. Anyhow, it survived as an idea. Martin Luther King Jr., not long before his assassination, had called for in the pages of Look magazine an economic Bill of Rights. So I've been doing this for some time. And amongst other things, I had the privilege and honor of being invited by Matt here to join him on his show. And I was thrilled. I wanted to see how he'd draw me. And he really did portray me as a rather bon vivant kind of character. It was kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
And in the course of the conversation, he was very sweet. And he said, geez, it'd be great if we could do a comic book together. I'm paraphrasing that. If I'm wrong, correct me, okay? And I thought about it. I said, wow, that would be fun. What are we going to do? So we began by talking about the possibility of going full-scale graphic novel, a whole graphic novel on the American promise by way of my Thomas Paine book, Thomas Paine and the Promise of America. In fact, Matt actually laid out a few sketches of me running up and down the street.
Let me fill in the blanks here a little bit.
There, okay?
As I tend to do, whenever someone gives me an idea for something or is talking about something that they're passionate about, I say that should be a comic, right? This is just what I do, and I'd be happy to help you with that. And I've said this to probably hundreds of people, and Harvey gravitated to it, but it took some convincing because Harvey's never made comics. He's written a bunch of books, but he's never made a comic. And so I went in like way too heavy and was like, we could do like a 200, 300 page graphic novel. Believe me, trust me. And then I was like, why would he trust me? And like, that's just not rational. And so we had regular phone calls, video phone calls, where we would just have casual conversations, becoming friends and catching up on stuff. And, that was a delight, but I would always find a way to work in. So if we did a comic, what would it be like? And try to coax him into being convinced that we could do this on some level. And so I would draw pictures of Harvey with Thomas Paine, panels or just one-off pictures. And then I would draw FDR and stuff like this. And I would send him the picture, but also a time lapse, like a video, so that he could see the process from the rough sketch to the pencils, to the inks, to the colors. And hopefully that helps. And this is true. I mean, this does help people warm up to the idea of collaborating on a graphic novel. You allow them to see that there's no risk involved. You're not just telling me to do something and then I draw it and that's that. We can really work together. We can really mold this into the exact right words and images juxtaposed on the page. And so, luckily we were talking casually and I had the opportunity to do that a lot. And at some point, I know we kind of go back and forth on this a lot, Harvey, but I think it was your idea where you said, or I don't know, maybe it was my idea, I don't know, but I said, well, let's just do the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
And then that would be like, our primer.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because I had just brought something out or because you saw me doing a conversation with someone and you said, it was definitely you who said, why don't we just do the Economic Bill of Rights? And
I've been researching, the circumstances around socioeconomic circumstances and just like why it's not the same in this country anymore and why we keep telling people to, pull up their bootstraps and all that. And I came across your article on Common Dreams with Alan Minsky, and I was like, okay, I'll have Harvey back on the show. We'll talk about this. And then I started pitching that as the idea.
And I absolutely love the idea because the piece that he's referring to, which is referenced in the prologue, not prologue, in the the preamble to the comic strip, really did lay out in about 1,800 words an arc, a narrative arc, and a call for action by labor and progressive groups. And somehow I started, especially given he made me confident in his abilities, I really did start to believe we could pull this off. But I think neither Matt nor I realized how fluid the process would be. How
Yeah, I have.
we
This
had
isn't my
we had
first.
assumed it would take weeks.
This is not my first time around. I've never had this perfect a collaboration with another partner ever. It was. We work so well together. It's almost like I'm almost nervous talking about it. I don't want to jinx it, but like it really is good. So
I will sidebar his remark and tell you one of the reasons it works so well is he may deny it, but he has he has incredible patience.
No, that's true.
Okay, because we can be in the middle of something and say, no, fuck, we don't want to do that. No.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, and he would just scratch it. But and I thought to myself, geez, if somebody did that to me, I would start just,
No, I mean, you want like the real behind the scenes. Here it is. We would be on a call just like this, and I would bring up my screen and I would share a blank page and I would start laying down panels, and he would sort of figure out what we want to do on a page, and I would put in word balloons and narration caption boxes, and then it would start to solidify, and we go, oh no, this is what we should do. I would go off and do a rough sketch, send it back to him. We would meet again and tweak that or call it good. And as we went along, it certainly did become very fluid, and we had like a real outline and a plan, and we knew what to do, but we kept it modular because we're putting a lot of content into very few pages. By all rights, one of these pages could be like 10, 12 pages.
I was going to say, like, I am struck by how much you're able to convey here through these panels. Like there's like this could be, an entire like massive book, but you're able to convey these ideas in a way that I think is so easily digestible for a mass audience that, like, I was, while reading through this, I was thinking this should be given to like kids in high school or even like, grade 8 or something. Like this is a good entry point to really understanding the history to this and understanding where people, need to go. Because
thank you.
It's an incredible summation of just what's gone on over the past 80 plus years and what can happen in the future.
Yeah, this is the 80th anniversary of FDR's speech this year. Okay, there's something we don't have to do immediately, but there's something I've really wanted to do publicly with Matt, and this would be a good opportunity to do it. When we're at some point, I want you to call up that prologue page that you first on the very first page.
First page.
I want Matt and I to vocalize it.
Oh, you want to do like a stage?
He doesn't know I wanted to do this. Okay?
I'd love that.
That's a great idea.
Because I want to preface all this, of course, by saying we were a good 7 pages in to the work to the 10 pages we thought that would result, and all of a sudden I got really frustrated with myself when I realized we needed to give people a better idea as to where they're going to go with us.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I guess we're going to have to do 11 pages. But Matt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt said, well, let's not change the let's not change the parts exactly. Let's just create a prologue with the possibility that whatever venue it appeared at, magazine or online, that they would then use that as not just a prologue, but as a promotional kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, anyone making their own comics, self-publishing comics, and you intend to pitch it with people, you need some sort of a strategy. And what I was thinking was somebody may want to serialize this and do it one installment over 10 or weeks or so, right? So I said, let's give them something like a prologue that they can use to introduce it instead of just dropping readers into a comic ice cold. Because you guys, who's doing this? Who's putting comics on their websites on like this, right? So we wanted to ease people into it, but there was a moment where, because Harvey and I did read the entire comic together using our own voices, but the reason, and I feel like I really need to touch on this, we didn't put ourselves in the comic because we're egomaniacs or anything, right?
As a matter of fact, I refused at first to be in the comic.
So
and then I had to defer to him.
Yeah, if you read Harvey's books, and you guys have, but if you read his books, you're essentially listening to Harvey tell you about these points in history, right? And these moments in history. And so I said, you're going to be the narrator in the comic. And comic is a very unconventional method of storytelling where you can show the narrator. And that almost makes more sense than just having like an invisible voice in caption boxes. And
Yeah,
so
it makes it more, it's more personalized. Like it allows you to sort of like connect with who is telling you this, and I think that makes it more easy to digest the content within it, because you're sort of taking on this journey along with this, like these protagonists essentially that are sort of laying out this entire thing.
yeah, and I represent the reader because, look, I don't have a college degree, but I got the benefit of hours and hours of listening to Harvey, a professor and a historian and the expert on this subject, talk about all of this stuff in detail, and it was truly valuable. So I was like, okay, we need somebody in the comic that can represent the reader, and in that way, it's less of a literal illustration of one of his books or a documentary of sorts, and more of a conversation, which, like you were just saying, David, is a way of allowing people an accessibility.
So if we're going to do this, either David or Mike, do us a favor, read the title, and imagine you're the MC for this film.
A New Economic Bill of Rights for the 21st Century by Harvey J. Kaye and the Letterhack. Prologue, a comic.
Okay, so here we are. We're at a bar. And I'm saying to Matt, looking at my drink, they just don't get it.
The
Democrats. American democracy has been in crisis for some time, and we may just lose it. The Democrats continue to turn their backs on the answer. We have to go big. As Henry Demarest Lloyd said more than a century ago. Matt?
We can save the rights we have inherited from our fathers only by winning new ones to bequeath our children.
We need to secure an economic bill of rights.
Well, Harvey, maybe we should make a comic.
And thus we look at each other and away.
And notice we gave Lloyd a beer. It's just another thing you can do in a comic, just as a little gag. And I always wonder if people notice like he's having a beer with us in that moment. But
it was a very, very progressive, socialist, populist figure around the turn of this late, maybe 1890s, turn of the century kind of time. I've loved that quote, and it gave us gave me an opportunity to insert it into this project. So that was great.
Yeah, it's a great entry point into the entire thing. And so you said that this didn't take that long. How long did it take you to put this together?
I was just going to ask you.
I was going through this, and I'm like, this had to take like months. Like, so much.
How long does a single page take? Like, to coordinate it, to draw, like, how long does like one page take? Because I feel like this has to take like weeks.
Oh wait, don't answer that yet, Mike. Matt. Oh, listen, I'm going to make it clear. I'm not going to tell you how long it took, but I will tell you this: we would do work, and then Matt, my job was to think where we go next. Matt's job was to sketch it out. And by the way, it didn't go straight to color. You can imagine. Okay. So what always amazed me is Matt would say, well, I'm really tied up until, like 2 days, 3 days away. And somehow or other that night, he would send me the draft of the page.
Low expectations.
So and I would immediately contact him and say, hey, this is great, but don't do it this way and that. So I don't know. How many weeks did it take us?
I don't know. That's a good question. I can think of at least one time you said, we can't draw that. You were like, my grandkids are going to read this one day. We can't draw that. Like I had been a little too literal about Southern Dixiecrats or something. And that was like the only time like we tossed a whole page, which is fine because that's the point of doing like roughs, just rough sketches, like really messy, rough sketches, because we can always go back and redo those. I haven't put down like any final lines, but I guess we would talk for a couple of hours, maybe an hour, 2 hours max to discuss a page. As we went along, we were discussing more than one page in that time frame. And then, by that night, I would have the sketches and all the lettering and stuff like that. And then, you acquire more pages and we go back from the beginning and make sure that it read properly all the way through. And a month, maybe total.
I was going to say a month, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Really?
And that would be like just talking every day and catching up at the same time.
That's when it occurred to me, and this is utterly selfish on my part, where I thought, shit, maybe we should have gone for that big graphic novel version.
Well,
well, this is the starting point, right? Like this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
we know now that we can pull that.
You don't mind
off,
my 4-letter
problem.
words? Am I okay on that?
Oh yeah.
By the way,
On
yeah,
this show?
of course.
on the
Oh
show?
yeah.
Okay.
It's required that our guests say it at least twice to get invited back. So you passed that.
Okay.
Yeah. I you know, and it's funny because we would have these conversations where I would make a side note without telling Harvey, like, I'm gonna put that the dialogue that we're literally having together, I'm gonna put that in the book somewhere in the comic. And so, like, on that first page where Harvey says, I've got all of the
cells.
Yeah, he refers to
Yeah,
animation cells.
Yeah.
And that was a real life thing where I said panels. And so
And there I thought I was being so cool, when I said
well,
little did I
but
know what I needed.
that's when so I drew that panel and sent it to him just as a quick sketch. And that was the moment where Harvey was like, yeah, we're fucking doing this. Like he's like, I get it. I'm in the comic, you're in the comic. It totally makes sense. Let's do it. But there was
And by the way, when you did that page where I said cells and you said panels, I learned two things in that panel. One, that cells, as I was referring to it, only had one L. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah, me too.
And also that it was
short for
panels.
celluloid.
Yeah. Right. No, exactly. I mean, I was laughing at myself.
Yeah, but that was I think that it was like a real moment where because the joy for me is introducing people to comics. And I always tell people, if you learned anything from that comic, then just keep in mind you can also communicate and teach things with a comic. And that's what we're doing here is like, I'm all at once creating a comic that I know people will benefit from, while at the same time turning Harvey into a comic book maker, which is like one of the greatest accomplishments in my life, I think. So, I mean, you take somebody who's done as much work as Harvey already has, and now he's going to start making comics. It's so cool. Like, I'm really enjoying that part.
I mean, I was a comic books fan.
Yeah.
Off and on through my life. In fact, one of the things that I showed Matt was a
Alex
book that
Ross.
actually, I don't know if you guys ever saw this one. Okay. Whoops. Where is it? Uncle Sam. And it's this Uncle Sam goes back through American history. Basically, it's telling American history through the.
I highly recommend this book. It's by Steve Darnell and Alex Ross. Alex Ross is a painter who started making comics and brought a level of realism to pages that people had never seen before. And this depicts a houseless man who may be losing his mind, or he may actually be Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam.
And the fact that he's like on the streets and spouting at traffic and anyone who will listen as they pass by sort of shows the state of America, the United States.
Yeah.
So that's a great book. And as soon as I realized he'd read that, I was like, well, here we go. This will be even easier then.
So here's something else that's kind of interesting. In the beginning, when I was working on the Economic Bill of Rights, and I was doing it pretty much on my own, then I got together with, it's Alan Minsky I produced the articles with. Alan Minsky is the executive director of Progressive Democrats of America, and he's out in LA, and we were doing all that stuff, and he and I had never met during the course of much of that except by Zoom. And similarly, Matt and I have only ever met this way. And I'm sure you guys working as you do can understand that, but it amazed me to think how much we could do working this way. It really, really did surprise me and amaze me. So, but that's because Matt, seriously, I'll praise you to the ends of the earth. You are very talented, extremely talented,
right?
And you have tremendous patience, and you recognize talent in others.
Yes, that's a big one. And like I was talking to my dad one day just about the project, and he goes, do you ever feel like you're at a disadvantage because you didn't go to college, you don't have a degree? And I was like, Dad, I mean, I may not have like learned from professors, but I work side by side with them. So I'm not sweating it, but, and I was just sort of kidding. But on the other hand, it's a real, like I lucked out because this is as educational for me as it is a creative outlet. To be able to apply my artwork to something as important as this and something that people need to know about is a big deal for me. But to hear it from, like, it's not as if I researched this. I went to the source. I have Harvey Kaye right there, and that's you know, anyone who knows me knows I watch all these shows online that he's been on, so it's a big deal.
On Monday, there's a 2-day, call it a convention alternative or a progressive prologue to the Democratic Convention. It's called Progressive Central 2024 down in Chicago, and they're going to have a whole host of people. And I'm giving a talk at that on the Economic Bill of Rights. And I hope that they're going to do what I said I wanted them to project this up on a giant screen.
Yes.
That's one of the most important parts of this whole thing is
there it is. Whoop, I'll get my finger on it. There it is.
Yeah, people need, when you read the Economic Bill of Rights, whether in that original opinion piece on Common Dreams or through this comic, you need to be asking yourself, what is so expensive or complicated about these rights that we don't already have them? This makes total sense. And like, you know, David, you're in Canada, so you know what I mean when I say, you know, healthcare, it's totally doable. Why don't we have that? You know,
a lot of these discussions I find so just like they've already been like, we know the answers already. You know what I mean? Like, like I feel like, and it's why I talk about healthcare. It's just like I feel like I've had this discussion like 1,000 times. Like there are so many obvious benefits to having universal healthcare that it shouldn't need to be explained. Like the fact that you don't even need to talk to an insurance company, let alone have to pay for anything out of pocket. Like it's just some of the stuff is so like this is why I think it's actually this is a question for you guys. Do you think that the barrier is lack of knowledge that people have, or is it more of just a political barrier? The fact that there are these entrenched systems that these moneyed systems that are simply working against the interests of people. Because again, when you poll people, they want healthcare. They want guaranteed healthcare. So it's not necessarily that lack of education is the barrier to that progress. It's more so that there is just this I shouldn't say insurmountable, but there is this massive force pushing against the ability for any kind of progress.
A good friend of mine, a left economist, young guy, who's now teaching at Rutgers in the School of Public Policy, as again, he's an economist. He actually was finishing up a book as Alan and I were working on all of this. He was writing a book about economic rights in America. And he arranged for the polling group Data for Progress to do a poll asking people about these rights. And again, the great majority of Americans believe that those are rights that we should have. So the point is, I think, well, first of all, I think it's imperative to understand that ever since the 1950s, conservatives, but even liberals, and especially neoliberals, have really gone out of their way to suppress the rights that were won in the 30s and the 40s and the 60s. And they really have. And they've also done, by way of culture wars, everything in their power to suppress the memory of such things as the Economic Bill of Rights and the fact that progressives and labor unionists, hell, liberals, progressives, radicals, and socialists all organized in 44 and 45 to secure that whole concept of an Economic Bill of Rights. But they were between, as we explain here, when you put together the likes of Republican conservatives, Southern Dixiecrats, and what later comes to be known as Democratic neoliberals, it's really tough to get the bandwidth, the space to do that. We've been somewhat successful. The Democratic Party of Massachusetts and the Democratic Party of West Virginia have now embraced it, and they're making it part of their platform. And there are other states where legislators are doing that. Democrats Abroad, which is actually a state party in the Democratic Party, they were the Progressive Caucus has been pushing for the Democrats abroad to embrace it, which would be funny to think of that. But I'll note that at the end of World War II, when we defeated Japan and Germany, it was New Dealers, the folks who developed and pursued the New Deal from Washington, D.C., who basically were sent over to Germany and Japan to help write their constitutions. And do you remember the film? I may have talked to Mike about this once on the show. So Michael Moore did a film. What was the title? Where to Invade Next, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I bet most people walked out of that movie remembering the wrong message. The message they walked out with was probably, "Wow, look at what these people are doing. How come we can't do it?" But his message was, these were all American ideas that are now standard operating procedure in these, places in Europe. So what it is the Americans want these things. They know how much they yearn for these things, but they're so effectively kept from talking about it, or at least having their representatives talk about it. I look, even the progressive squad, the squad in the Progressive Caucus has literally avoided until very recently the question of an economic bill of rights, which is astounding. Okay, what distinguishes the Democratic Party standard congressional folks and the progressives? Well, one would have assumed the progressives would have had a bit more of a memory of the decades of struggle to try to secure an economic bill of rights. What they have done is they put in singular, they'll enter bills for consideration. If you took the totality of the bills, you'd have an economic bill of rights. But you know what? How many Americans are sitting there reading the Congressional Quarterly or whatever the daily newspaper would be of Congress, and knowing about every one of these bills? What kind of lack of imagination is there for someone like AOC or Ro Khanna? He's eager to be president, to talk about, hey, what we need is what FDR talked about. It's what A. Philip Randolph talked about. It's, that kind of thing. No, it's the yearnings are there. It's the fact that the Republicans don't want us to remember. The Democrats have either forgotten, or as neoliberals have done a damn good job of suppressing the memory as well. I mean, it's not for lack of desire. It's for lack of the capacity to get it out there, and, in the media talked about.
Yeah. I mean, that's all exactly right. And I always look at it like everyone has healthcare. Like all the other countries we admire have universal healthcare. Like think about how many APAC and super PACs, Israeli super PACs, are influencing our elections, but at no time do they insist their candidates push for universal healthcare like they have. Right. So that it's maddening to me. It's like, why are you influencing us then? I don't get this. And it just exposes how bad faith it is. But and this is the conclusion that we draw in the comic. We'll just spoil it for everyone because there's so much in this comic that there really are no spoilers. You read it every time, and hopefully you just acquire more and more solid knowledge on the entire 80 years of history that we're depicting. But where Congress drops the ball on these policies, we look to the resurgent labor movement to pick it up and run with it. And I think that unions and labor can secure certain policies like healthcare, for instance, and higher wages, where Congress lacks or fails to enact. And so that, to me, it's like, it would feel so hopeless if we didn't have some sort of outlet by the last page of this thing. And so the whole time we knew where we were going, and that was one thing, that was a conclusion that I had come to on my own prior to this, and I was just so happy to be vindicated when Harvey agreed.
We are seeing now like the resurgence of unions, and I don't know. I haven't been following American politics, that long, 15 years or so.
But you got it better than most Americans do.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Come on. You got to grasp on this thing like nobody else.
Yeah.
Just to see, I don't know, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz out there with unions, and Sean Fain out there, to visibly see union leadership in media during an election. I feel like that is new. We are seeing a shift here where these voices are gaining steam. And reading your this comic, Sean Fain, I feel like is someone that would latch onto this. The OAW Like this is something that they should get a hold of and run with.
Yeah, and I was going to say, the last time I talked to Professor, it was in 2021, and we did a panel on doomerism. And I felt like your insight was so crucial there because, like, this was after, the Bernie loss in 2020. We were all still feeling it. A lot of people felt hopeless. It was right in the middle of the worst. I think it was the Delta wave of COVID. It was really bad. So I wanted to pick your brain about, like, the current situation because I feel like since then, a lot of things have kind of slowly but surely changed. Like there's the rise of unionization, the Starbucks, Amazon movement. There's this change even from Biden in that, very bad on foreign policy, obviously, but with regard to domestic economic policy, putting in place somebody on the FTC that's actually trying to invoke antitrust laws, putting somebody at the head of the NLRB that's actually making unionization easier. Like something that Crystal Ball had said on the Vanguard recently really stuck with me. And she said, it feels like we're getting to a point where, we're getting towards the end of this neoliberal era in the Democratic Party. I'm paraphrasing what she said, but where they kind of like, they can't just be openly neoliberal. Like the days of triangulation with Bill Clinton and whatnot, like that was kind of the death of the FDR Democrats. But we're seeing this resurgence and this political opportunity all of a sudden is starting to form. And now there's a video that came out of Kamala Harris talking about sectoral bargaining, which is mind-blowing to me. So I'm curious, like, do you think that this was one of those situations where things had to get worse before they started to get better and this window of opportunity was going to open up? Or do you kind of feel like this was inevitable? Because, like, to me, if we go back to history and you know better than me, it feels like FDR saved capitalism from collapsing in on itself. So are we at that moment where this is kind of happening again and politicians have no choice but to act before everything just kind of like comes tumbling down?
Okay, well, forgive me for correcting you, and I do this to everyone who says, but everyone always wants to say that FDR saved capitalism. It may or may not be true. He was desperately trying to save democracy because fundamental to what he was about was actually to overthrow the Gilded Age ruling class that still prevailed right through the 1920s and had brought on, basically was responsible for bringing on the Great Depression. But having said that, when here's what we should remember. The neoliberalism begins with Carter, is truly advanced by Reagan, though he was a conservative. They didn't use the term to apply to him, but it was him pretty much. He was pretty much another champion of neoliberalism. It was advanced by Clinton, and I could do a whole evening talking about that. Okay. And then Obama, who said, yes, we can. And we note here, basically tended, well, no, we can't, forget it. But you know what? Along the way, he, that is Obama, basically spoke to a generation that felt deflated, decidedly deflated. My students were crazy about Obama all the way across all of them were just crazy about it. And we're immediately deflated, but it surely planted something in their heads. And think about the fact that in the years leading up to 2020, the years leading up to 2020, things were really percolating. Okay. You had the Wisconsin Rising, several years before, but that's when we occupied the Capitol. You had Occupy. Okay. And those two, in one sense, seemed like they were the last gasp, but they really were actually the beginning of something. I mean, if you remember, this is what democracy looks like. Those words reverberated and came back in the anti-fracking movement, in Black Lives Matter, in, and I'm forgetting the Chicago teachers strike, the strikes in West Virginia, down in Arkansas. I mean, it was amazing the kinds of things that were happening. And in 2020, Bernie should have been the candidate that year because people wanted those changes and Bernie represented that force. Okay. Trump won. Okay. And we survived it barely, but we survived it. And Bernie should have won I meant 2016 and then 2020. My years got flipped on that one.
We have that in the comic.
Yeah. I flipped the year, I think, between us, but we corrected it for the comic.
Yeah.
So I think it's that it was percolating. Now, undeniably, labor, Sarah Nelson, the head of the the president of the airline flight attendants union, we're very good friends. And from our first face-to-face encounter back in, I guess, 2020, we both agreed that the only way to save democracy, the only vehicle to save democracy, was probably the labor movement. And we were pretty much committed to that. And I told her, and we got into this quite a bit, that the thing is for labor not only to be mobilized anew, but to start cultivating a vision. In other words, it's all well and good for labor to organize and to expand its numbers. I'm a labor unionist, and I welcome it. It's fantastic. But while it's essential, it's not sufficient. And what do I mean by that? Well, the vast number of workers are not in unions, and they're not going to be unionized soon. And they're going to see that labor is going to be effective. UPS strike was it 2 summers ago? I'm losing track. The UAW folks. I mean, victories were had by Teamsters, by auto workers. But most people are not going to benefit from that. Just not. But if labor can start to imagine itself as not just the union, but literally the primary force for democracy, and start advancing a vision that will bring in not only the labor movement, but also the vast numbers of workers and even middle-class folks who are not in organizable situations, it would be fantastic in light of the gross inequalities of this 50 years of class war on workers and their families that we've been going through. So one of the points that we try to get across here is that it's for labor to use an expression often overused ever since the Bolshevik Revolution, it's for labor to really itself become the vanguard of these changes. And I hope to hell that we can get to Sean Fain, or for that matter, even the Teamster guy. I'd love to be able to sit down with him and get them to start embracing this economic Bill of Rights and start talking about it. Sorry, I didn't mean to preach, but that's.
No, you know what? They should make us what do they call it in the White House when like an administration has like an ambassador to Hollywood or something like that? We should be the ambassador to comics. How hard would that be? They don't have to pay us. It's just a title. Like just slap that title.
We'll figure out how to turn the title into money. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, we'll monetize that. Don't worry. But
capitalism, baby, you're gonna find a way.
There are Bernie would have won line. I had that. I came up with that to put in the comic, and Harvey said, "Don't put that in there. Let's not do that." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "I don't think it's right for the page to end on that note." And I was like, "You'll see by the time we get to the end of this page that you'll change your mind." And he did because
you're so good. What can I say? You are that good.
Well, I have this narration sense about like. What we're walking with picket signs as if we've been protesting, right? I am not the guy who hits the streets in protest. I have, but I don't do that a lot. And so I didn't want to depict myself as like some champion of protesting, but I thought that it made sense because now it's not us anymore. Now it's our characters in the comic, and you should be allowed to transcend reality a little bit. And
I almost wore my Brooklyn Dodgers cap for this purpose tonight, but
that's a conversation, and that is something people would say in that moment. The sun is setting, you're walking home from a long day of protesting, and people will say that Bernie would have won. Yeah, he would have won in 2016 and 2020. So that is a moment that people can definitely relate to, whether Harvey and I literally said that or not. But we did say it. We just weren't walking home from a protest or a rally.
Yeah, I love the idea of like a vision, because these past couple of years, especially since Bernie lost the second time, I feel like the left has been really aimless. Like there's bickering, infighting, not really sure what to do, doomerism, nihilism. And that's really been like the missing factor, is that nobody knows what do we do next. How do we even affect change if we want to? Where do we even start? And I think that just having a vision that the left can unify behind, that is really important. It's important because it's like it's a motivating factor that gets people to like work towards something, but also it kind of tells you like, hey, this is something that everyone can work toward. It's incredibly popular, and we haven't had that. Like we've kind of like we've taken this like top-down approach to politics. At least I have, and I think a lot of millennials have, because we grew up in the era of Obama and then Bernie, where it's like you have this seemingly revolutionary figure who's going to implement this change, but we're having to recalibrate and learn that actually it's always been bottom up. That's how change works. And so how do you do that without a leader? And that is having this vision to work towards. It's not about the person, it's about the policy, it's about the movement. So I think that having that economic Bill of Rights as like the template that everyone can work towards, and to frame it, because it is, that's like continuing the legacy of FDR, I think it's really, really important. That's why I love this project so much.
I'm sure I talked about this with you, Mike, and this would have been 4 years ago. I can't remember exactly when. And I said, look, I love Bernie, and I've liked him ever since the 80s when I read about him in Burlington, Massachusetts. But my biggest critique of him, and I've got many a story to tell about it, which I won't right now, is that he didn't cultivate the history that would have enabled Americans, young people and older, to appreciate their responsibilities and all this. He came very close to it with that expression, not me, us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that everyone thought that was like a golden rule thing, but actually what it was is I bet that came up when he said to somebody, it's not for me to do, it's for us to do. So that's how I read that remark. But in those terms, he only once or twice ever mentioned FDR and the Economic Bill of Rights, even though he had his own proposal for an Economic Bill of Rights on his website. And I've said this over and over again. The night that he was in the debate where one of them, I don't know if it was Harris or Buttigieg or somebody, turned to him and accused him of wanting to bankrupt America with Medicare for all. And what I wanted him to do then is what Eugene Debs did in defending himself against the charges of sedition in 1918, where it ended up imprisoning him. And he told the jury in his defense before he was sentenced, he said, look, this is Debs now. He called into the room the great dissenters, Thomas Paine, Patrick Henry, Abraham Lincoln, who opposed the war with Mexico. That moment was Bernie, who was, has a hero. It makes Debs his hero. All he had to do was stand there in that room with those other, with the Democrats. He's a Democratic Socialist, and said, what? You sound like the Republicans challenging FDR when he proposed Social Security. And by the way, Social Security in FDR's mind was supposed to include health care, but they couldn't get that through because the Southern Democrats and Republicans just were willing to fight tooth and nail, and the AMA, the American Medical Association, put its thumb down, all their thumbs down. So, but Bernie could have used that moment to say, wait a minute, you're the capital D Democrats. I've got FDR with me here, and he's wondering what has become of the Democratic Party, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then it also came up earlier when he was always talking about Northern Europe and the Northern European model of social democracy. And Hillary nailed him in a debate back in 2000, and let me get my years right, 16 it would have been, and said to him, we're not Denmark. And by the way, that was a cheap shot, but it landed with people all across. Well, no, we're not Denmark,
Yeah.
So if he had taken that then into the final debate with Biden, when I was convinced he was going to go all FDR, because even the night before he did something called a fireside chat on YouTube, and the hour before the actual debate, Brianna Joy Gray had a 1 hour thing, and she essentially said, you're going to hear Bernie talk now about the Economic Bill of Rights, because I had done a video with her for Bernie's campaign. And then he didn't even once bring up FDR. I don't know if he was already committed to losing or what, but that was that moment.
So bad.
Okay. And then a few days later, I get this text. I was giving a talk down in Florida. A text from her says, Harvey, we got to put our heads together. We got to save this campaign. We got to make a pitch for social democracy. But it was too late. Yeah. It was much too late.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys see how when Harvey's talking, like I'm just seeing pages and panels like over and over and over. And when he gets fired up, I'm like, oh, it's angry Harvey, right? And then when he starts to say things like, and this is one of my favorite phrasings that Harvey has come up with. As far as I'm concerned, it's all his. When he says, FDR should bring FDR into the room with him. Do you know what I mean by that? And that to me is such a visual way to describe how a politician should be selling this. It's not my original idea, and I got to describe it to you from scratch, and give you all this background. No, if you're a politician too, if you're in government and you know American history, let me just remind you that this is nothing new. That this and so that's what he means by bringing him into the room. But it springs up all these images in my mind. So this is another reason why we produce this thing so quickly, is because Harvey manages to talk in a very visually descriptive way. And, if he just wrote like a script and passed it off to me, I would have been like, okay, we need to work on this. We can't put all those words in one panel or something. But the way we did it together, this is why I keep saying it was educational for me, but it was also one of the best, genuinely gratifying creative collaborations I've had. And I've had a lot.
Before whatever we end up doing in the course of the next half hour, whatever, I do think it'd be fun. We're under no obligation to do what you think would be a good idea, but we could fly some ideas by you for our next project. Is that okay, Matt? We just throw it out.
I don't mind. Yeah, Harvey's got a lot of ideas.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm down to hear this.
Originally, Matt was really keen on doing something around my hero, Thomas Paine, and the American Revolution, and in fact, he even sketched. You actually sketched. I don't know if you can call it right up. He sketched the moment when Thomas Paine is sitting at the campfire. Well, he's with the troops, Washington's troops, and he's getting the inspiration to write the crisis papers, which open with, "These are the most quoted line in American history that's not in the Constitution or the Declaration. It's, 'These are the times that try men's souls.'" Do you know that? I don't expect David to know it because he's he's up in Canada, but I hope Mike can remember that.
Okay, David knows it probably.
It's funny. I have to tell you, things always come in groups. The last few years, and it's very nice to meet you. I've made friends with Canadians, which for some
Really?
reason much of my life I had not. I don't know if you're in. What city are you in?
Toronto.
Have you ever run into or met up with Luke Savage, my friend up there?
Yeah, actually, I had him. So I had a radio show like 5 years, I don't know, 2018, and I actually brought him on for an episode of that.
Oh, great! Yeah, he and I, we exchange notes every single day, in part because we both do Wordle out of the New York Times, and we compare notes on that. But he's great. He's great, and I was happy to blurb his book. He's also another Canadian like yourself who just seems to understand American politics. And then there was a young woman, she's now out in Vancouver, who was doing a PhD at Toronto. I have to mention her name just in case she is tuning into this. She also, I introduced her to Michael, and Michael had her on, I think, a couple of times. Kirsten Pear Anderson. I don't know if that name rings a bell at all, but anyhow, so I made friends with Canadian folks who are very impressive folks. I've also heard about the complaints about national health care in Canada as a consequence. But in any case, to go back to this,
it's just underfunded. I mean, the only complaint is that
that's it.
Right. That's always the complaints. The same with the NHS. It's just like underfunding, but it's I much rather have this system than have to deal with any insurance company ever. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, that's the thing. I don't think
I've dealt with like home insurance and car insurance. It's like, I don't want to deal with these people again, like in another section of my life. Like
on those grounds alone, Americans should be in the streets demanding national health care. Just
exactly.
Avoid dealing with the insurance companies. Anyhow, so so first we talked about doing Thomas Paine, either having Thomas Paine and I talk to Americans, and Matt will definitely find his own way into that. That was one idea, and then we've come on to this possibility. So I did this book.
I want to radicalize people, and I want them to know that throughout history, Americans were radicals.
Well, and that's what this book
I love
is
that
about.
idea.
This book, Thomas Paine and the Promise of America, is not just Thomas Paine's life and labors. I did that as a young adult. Can I do a show and tell? I love the fact there's video.
I would love a show and tell. Yeah.
I did this book came out in 2000. Thomas Paine, Firebrand of the Revolution, is a young adult biography of Paine with pictures. with Oxford University Press. And as part of my sales pitch, I'll just say, I mean, it won the New York Public Library Award for the best book for the teen age. That's the title of the award. And I decided after that, and he was my hero, Thomas Paine, ever since I was 10 years old. That's another story.
I did those 2 pages of you and Thomas Paine walking around your town, and I just needed some dialogue to throw in there, so I had you guys telling dad jokes. You remember that? You said
do so much. Sometimes I forget. You're right.
You said my wife and I hung a copy of the U.S. Constitution in our house. We called the Declaration of Independence. And Thomas Paine says, but I thought humor had evolved. And you're like, it's subjective, I guess. And then he says, do you know what dance was popular in 1776? Independence. So
wait a minute. You did all that?
I love
that. You don't remember that?
To me. There's stuff you haven't shown me.
I've showed you that. Yeah, that was early on, though.
Okay. Can I make a pitch?
Solid dad jokes.
Yeah.
I grew up in the era of the Magic School Bus, so put all my biases out there. But what if there was a comic about Professor Kaye, and instead of just like teaching students history, like he has magic and he can bring somebody back. So like if somebody asks him, why did Bernie lose? You summon, Eugene Debs in that debate, and that would have changed it. I think something like that, which is kind of sci-fi, it's fiction, but it's also historical, would be so
that's
damn
where
fun.
I'm going. That's where I'm going.
In fact, there's a triangulation effect right here, not to be confused with the way Clinton triangulated or any of those assholes. And here's the thing. So we talked about why didn't Bernie bring FDR into the room? Matt, I knew, was just literally orgasming as you talked about the possibilities. Okay. But in fact, what we've talked about is what this Thomas Paine, The Promise of America book is that it retells the American story by way of the American radicals and liberals and progressives, all who wanted to really push a radical rendition of the American promise. And because the story that I tell in that book is every single progressive or radical figure in American history, every movement since the revolution reached back to the revolution and reclaimed Thomas Paine and made him one of their champions in order to lay claim to the American promise and the American story for their movement. It happened. It was the case with abolitionists, free thinkers, suffragists, populists, progressive social unionists, labor unionists. I mean, on and on and on and on. The only group that I didn't find evidence for, which I only found after the fact of publishing the book, was the civil rights movement, because Paine was a deist. He challenged organized religion and the veracity of the Bible. So much of the civil rights movement was grounded in Black churches that I think they had a hard time dealing with that element of Paine's arguments. But then I discovered that Martin Luther King, his favorite quote, the quote he would turn to whenever he got depressed to try to revive his spirits, was this line: "We have it in our power to begin the world over again," which is from Thomas Paine's Common Sense. And that is the most radical sentence ever offered in modern history. It is the beginning of modern history, if you think about it. Before that, people did not believe you could start the world over again. So it would be great. I'm sure Matt heard exactly what you said. We want to bring back into the room, so to speak, Fanny Wright, the really radical Abraham Lincoln, Eugene Debs. We want to go. That's exactly what we'd like to do in the bigger.
That'd be awesome.
The bigger book.
Yeah, I will say the chat is telling me, and I think they're right, that my idea sounds a lot like the PragerU kids idea. And I did watch that a couple of months ago. I think so they took like old, civil rights leaders and brought them into the present and had them explain why racism doesn't exist. But maybe I inadvertently copied that in my head, but I'm thinking of an actual accurate version of what they legitimately would tell students nowadays. So it's funny people brought that up. I'm like, oh my God, am I ripping up PragerU? That's so lame.
I'm aware of that. We will avoid that. But
okay.
The way I do it is I intentionally want to give Harvey something to go, we can't do that, and help me dial it back to something more realistic. So I did this. This was like a down and dirty sketch that I would never expect anyone to be able to make sense of. But I have Harvey reading a newspaper, and he goes something about we should be rebels or something, and I was like, and then the next panel, I'm Luke Skywalker and he's Han Solo, and I'm like, rebels? What do you mean, like Star Wars? And he's like, no, what are you talking about? But that's the kind of ridiculous stuff I want to give Harvey to be like, no, that's dumb. But then we're sitting around the campfire with these guys in the moment while it's happening. So there's this back and forth. And I just think that it's worth mentioning over and over that comics is a very unconventional method of storytelling. You can get away with a lot of stuff with the exact same budget. You want to blow up a planet? Go ahead. You want to draw a guy standing on a street corner? Go ahead. Exact same cost. Right?
Did you notice in the point where I lean over and said, I make reference to Bill Pullman?
Yeah. Somebody was telling me my FDR looked like Bill Pullman.
So you put those words in my mouth, which I didn't say, actually.
But Bill Pullman wants to be FDR.
Right.
So that kind of works in my favor.
But I'll also say that I did veto one thing effectively. Matt wanted to have the line that I too often hear. Anyone tell you look like Larry David?
Yeah, I wanted to put that in there.
Oh, I love that. Somebody in the chat actually said communist Larry David, Professor.
Yeah, right.
I saw that earlier and I thought that was so awesome.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even think about that until you brought that up. And now it seems so
but
obvious.
I will tell you, if I had the baseball cap on, that's what I look like the now late Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, Rebecca. Yes.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi.
Oh, yes. Hello, Rebecca.
How are you guys? Y'all just having boys time. I was just reading through it. Hey, Letterhack.
Hi, it's good
Professor
to see
Harvey.
you.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay. Am I correct in saying that I remember you well from my days with Ben Dixon?
Absolutely. It's Benjamin Dixon and Rebecca. But yes, you are very correct. You were on the show a couple of times. And
actually, I was with Ben long before anyone here ever was.
Yes, this is facts. And he never lets us forget it. You know, he speaks super highly of you. So that's why every time you were on the show, we made sure to it was always great conversation and give you the
It was great conversation. And the music was always the best on the internet.
Oh, thank you. Listen, shout out to our DJ James Bubba Williams.
Right.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we've had you on the show a few times and it's always been great and insightful. So it's nice to be here and have you here with us as well.
But, you know, people tell the professor he looks like Larry David in real life. That's not just something that comes from I just want to be clear. It's not that I drew him looking that way.
But I have to say, I'm a hell of a lot better looking than
you
totally agree.
Larry David, I went on Google and Larry David, absolutely. I see it. Absolutely. And who was the other person you said? You said, but with a hat on.
If I put a baseball cap on, it's Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett. Now look, it's
in the chin and stuff.
It's funny.
Look,
I gotta say, Matt, I was looking at this and like, this dude over here looks like me. The second from the left, beside Nina Turner.
Yeah,
I'm like, I looked at that. Like, that looks like the comic you drew of me.
It sort of does, yeah.
Next to Nina?
Yeah. Oh, Mark.
Oh,
yeah,
it does. Okay.
That does look like you.
That's the fellow I mentioned earlier, the economist friend of mine who was working on the economic rights stuff. Mark Paul.
Mark Paul?
I've drawn all of you guys so many times. Is it ever cringy to you to see that? Are you like, why does I keep drawing
cringy?
Very weird.
Wow.
It's really good. Like every time I've seen you draw me, it's always in like a different space, or you've drew me when I've been out, and you've captured like things that I've talked about, and you put that into artistry. Like that one you did with me in the white dress, and you had my like Haitian heritage, you had my head wrap. I'm like that. You did that like, and that meant a lot. That I love that drawing because it has my heritage and it has all of that. But then you had me with long hair, you had me with a bob, you had me with braids, you had the whole, like you do a really good job in not only like watching and listening to what we're saying, but you apply that in the drawings. And I love that. I love it. I feel like
my wife's friends want to know why you didn't use this image of me.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing is I draw people in different art styles so that, look, if I just did everything in my own style, people would be like, okay, that's Letterhack. But if I drew something in a very popular artist style, they'd be misled into thinking it was that famous person, and they're more likely to click on it. Like when I draw the Majority Report crew as Simpsons characters, people see Simpsons and they click on
Mm-hmm.
it, and then it's like, haha, I just informed you about an alternative
Mhm.
news show you might not be familiar with called The Majority Report, right? But so that's sort of my thing. But when it came to this comic, I was like, no, this is gonna be straight up my style, top to bottom.
Speaking of Majority Report, I just got to say I'm happy that we have you guys as the exclusive. You're on our show first before the Majority Report. You're going to be on there tomorrow. we got the
That's right,
exclusive
tomorrow's Friday.
interview.
Thank you for reminding me. It's in my calendar, but I forgot.
No, we
can't forget that.
Hey, we reached out to you guys first too, just so you know. Like I did the right thing. Yeah,
I'm really honored.
We reached out to a lot of people, but we went to you guys first. Yeah,
that's how it should be. Awesome. We got the first exclusive with Ole after the Breakfast Club, and we got the first exclusive with you guys after the Common Dreams article.
Because we know each other, but that's the great part about it. We have actual relationships, so
we have real bonds.
If we want exclusive, we could just tap in like, hey, or you guys can reach out to us and be like, hey, we want to drop it here first. But that's what it is when you have good relationships with people in the space, and you can just communicate. And
Rebecca, is Ben? I know you said Benjamin. Is Ben still doing his show?
Absolutely, we do it it's like it or not with Rebecca Azor now, but we do it every Saturday morning at the 10:30, around 10:30ish. But he's there all the time, and he does his separate stuff. It's on his page. He's dropping a special soon, I believe. I hope I hope I don't get this wrong, but I know that we did speak, and he's dropping a special soon on his page. And I think it's going to be around voting, I want to say, but yeah, like an election special. But he has, we still do our show every Saturday. We just change it over to the one day on Saturday, because that's where we can all be available. So it's on Saturday mornings at 10:30. So
very good.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell him that you asked about him, because you're his partner. He loves every time you come on, or when he's speaking about you or quoting you, it's definitely always praise and respect.
He had a show. I don't know if he was on. Was it in radio when he was up in Boston? Was he actually on radio too, or was he?
I don't know. Now, I've known Ben since 2017. That's
this goes back back further than that.
Oh yeah, but his Boston days, and I know. So I know that he was doing a lot of different things there, with politics and grits and different things like that. I know he's been with our producer from day one, even when he was out in Boston as well. Back when our producer was, I think, an intern, and that long time ago. So, but
how long ago was that? How many longs ago was that?
long, about four, but it was a long time ago. And so I know that Ben has a lot of relationship with people in the space. He's introduced me to a lot of amazing people, such as yourself, and he's been, look at me, just speaking highly of that man, and he's been like partnered with a lot of different people. But I think right now he's doing something different. I wouldn't say that he's pivoted, but he's still doing politics. I know that he's tapped into trying to get people more out religious wise, but in like a more, I wouldn't say that we use the word woke, but he's waking people up in the church, but teaching them how to apply politics correctly and not in the the white evangelical way that gives like Nazi or nationalist, but it gives more so you can, if you can be a believer, but you still can honestly like know your politics correctly. And so he's on that right now, and he's doing pretty well, but he's always on Saturdays at 10:30. So if you want to catch him there, but I will tell him that you did ask about him. He loves you so much.
I hadn't heard from him in so long. I started to wonder if he was.
I know. So he is on like a social media. Look at me giving my husband a social media sabbatical. He only comes on when he's doing work. After that, he's about family.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen him on Twitter as often, right?
Oh, he doesn't tweet as much as he used to. You'll see him on Twitter if you go on. He's probably been active a couple of times today, but he just pops in, says a couple of things, and he's out. He no longer utilizes his cell phone. So if people need to reach out to him, it's reach out to my wife or send me a DM. If I reach out, it's more for his. I think he's been doing this. He's been at this for about a year and a half now. you can't reach him on a cell phone. You can't. He's plugs in and he plugs out. That's
smart.
That's a healthy way to do it. That's how you should do it.
Is he still in Georgia?
He's not in Georgia anymore. He's in the Florida area.
He's always the first person to retweet me.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now you make me feel like a real loser.
To retweet us.
Yeah. I mean, Ben is that guy. Ben has he's the one that I will always say when I first got into politics, I had graduated with my master's in journalism. And when I got in there, I am a journalist first. I know we talked about that Letterhack on your show. I'm a journalist first. So I have a tendency to be very in that way when I'm talking, or I know how to read a script. I know how to put the script together in a journalistic type of way. He was like, Rebecca, I know you're used to this way, but we're in the digital space now. And so you're going to have to, loosen up. And this is politics. You got a voice over here. And I'm like, I don't know if I should do that. He's like, no. It would be like, he had me in like boot camp. We would be in the office and he's like, say it again. How do you feel about this? Like he really taught me a lot in having my own voice and appreciating my own voice in the space. So he helped me really, really grow. And that was a long time ago. That's before he had his third child. And so, it's been good. And then he's also introduced me to other people in the space that amazing people. And everybody that speaks about him always speaks about him very highly, and they know his work from, if it's not now, it was before. And what remains true, even though he may pivot, he's always going to be a very progressive voice when it comes to politics. He's not afraid to really challenge or educate people on what's happening, and he is somebody that will study that particular subject and get all the information about it and come out and really educate you. And that's what I really love about him and what I gained from working alongside him all of these years. So shout out to Benjamin P.
Yeah, he's a staple in this space.
Yeah.
And everybody loves him.
Yes. And
he was one of the first guys to come on my radio show. Like when I launched my radio show, he was super gracious and very, actually, funny story. His Ben Dixon, his name was the same. His name was my boss's last name. So I think the producer got kind of confused. He's like, "Are you having our boss on the show? Like, what's going on here?" My boss's last name was Ben Dixon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really bizarre.
That's funny.
But no, he was. Yeah, he's been great. He's always been awesome.
Yeah.
I love him. And if y'all want to check him out, he'll be on Saturday. He sneaks in. We don't ever know. Like, we can't get him, but you just feel, okay, today's feeling like a Ben day. Ben pops on with his suit and he's ready to go. And the conversations flourish. So we always have a great time on Saturdays. So
there was a time
you guys got me through COVID as well. Like when COVID was going on every morning.
That
show was on. I turn on your guys' show and it's like
we were doing it every day, every morning, every single day, every morning. And we would get up, have our meetings, and we would do it. We would get up around 5:30, start at 8 a.m. and sometimes do it for like 3 hours. But that was during COVID when, it was more lax. Everybody was at home and all the things. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to know that a lot of people were saying that, like, hey, you got us through COVID. And what I really love is because our show started in 2017 when we were at Content News inside of a studio here in Georgia. And we started there and we cultivated that space because we ended up it started out with like main white journalists that were popular in the space. But then Ben came along and we would stay up all day, have like 16-hour days trying to figure out how we were going to create this news show. And I was the one that brought the sauce to Ben, but and Ben gave me the political aspect of it, and we put that together, and we've been doing it since then. And then I took a break, and Ben kept saying, "We got to get back to the show." I'm like, "I just don't think so. I just feel like I'm in a space right now." And he's like, "No, girl, we got to get back to the show." And then COVID happened, and he was like, I got onto his nighttime show when he would do the wine and the evenings with Ben. and I got there one time, and then the next week we were up and we brought back Like It or Not, and I thought that was an amazing way. Even though COVID was hell, we got through, and we met a lot of different people. We did a lot of different series within Like It or Not, so that was really fun. So but now we do it on the weekend days where Ben can be with his kids and we can have our weekend day and still have the same vibes. So yeah, 10:30 Saturday.
I have a story from that point, because you guys would say stuff on air and I would draw it, and then you would put it on screen like before the show ended.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that really motivated me to keep doing that. And there was one time where you weren't there yet, you hadn't come on, and it was just Bubba and Ben, and he had coined the phrase Marjorie Neanderthal Green.
Yes.
And I made coasters of that.
Oh my god.
But I drew it and he had it up on screen, and that's right when you came in, and it was suddenly as if an adult had come into the room and busted us for being very, very immature.
You guys play. I come in a little late, and I come in, ready to get down to the news, and here y'all are playing. And then every time they'll be like, "Now, Rebecca's here. We got to get serious." Every single time. But yeah, no, you really helped us bring graphics into our space when we would have our breaks and stuff. And Letterhack drew
a lot
much. I was like, dang, we had so much that we would have when we had Dr. Carl Mack, you had him, Georgia, when we had Georgia, a lot of our guests, you just had a lot of that on there. So we will forever be grateful for that.
Fun.
Till this day on the show, we still have those play during like the
reel
beginning of the show.
Great.
Yep, a reel of all of your work, because it's so much. And he's drawn us, and every time you draw us, it's almost like, dang, I feel like a celebrity. I'm like, dang, you see, that's me. Like, and great. I love it. We love it.
This is kind of the thing I've been talking about a lot on my show. There are so many people using my artwork, and like I would design backgrounds and logos for people, and then I'll see them arguing, and I'm like, I'm watching you like go into battle with my design on your shield, basically. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just wish people would say, hold on, if we're all cool with the Letterhack, we should all be cool with each other.
Oh yeah.
Like arguing is fun.
Matt, you've got to come in and make a comic of them arguing with the different panels.
Yeah. How that would be great.
The whole space. You actually put on Twitter when I was active on there, but when you put on Twitter where you were like, follow all of these great, left content creators or whatever. And that's how I found some other people. But it was like all of us being able to know each other from this tweet, and everybody's on there like, oh, I didn't know this person. Oh, I didn't know this person. And, now I feel like we've all either been on each other's shows or connected in some way, shape, or form. But at that time, a lot of us didn't know each other. And you knew us from watching all of our stuff. Yeah. And you tweeted out this one tweet, and everybody's like, oh, wow, these are all my faves. And I'm like, I don't know nobody in this list. But, I was able to, figure out who everybody was. And they knew me. I didn't know them. Or, or we all, like, it was just a whole thing. And I liked it because I wanted to find other like-minded people in this space, whether they were black, white, blue, or purple. Like, I just wanted to, see that. Then it was good to see that there were other people who were on the same side of the coin. And you're right, there are arguments that happen on air, chat, but they're all like, and you would have like that picture that you did, like a graduation photo kind of thing, like, or the class of such and such.
The Letterhack cinematic universe. We're all part of it.
And some people in there do not like each other. I'm like, dang, that's but
I know
big space. It's still a space where people can go to and find content creators in politics.
I always say my presence online and my YouTube show is more like where you buy a ticket. It's not a destination. Like, I would love that, but I'm not here to get tons of subscribers. I'm here to get people to subscribe to, folks like yourself. So
no, but your work is good and it deserves. I was saying that from the beginning. We were like, man, this man drawing us for free. We ain't asking him to do nothing. He deserves to get the following, to do all the things. And not only do you do that, I loved when you did the portion on your channel where you were interviewing us content creators. and seeing us in a personal way and drawing us at the same time. That was good. And it also let us get to know who you were and your art and what and the history of that. So it's been good. It's been good.
It's I love is that like Matt can take something that is mundane to anyone else and turn it into a comic, which is so creative, because I'm like the least creative person ever. But you could do panels based on a show, like it or not, or you can take something that makes us all fucking irate, like, sellouts, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, and then turn them into puppets saying they love being used. And it's like the way that you're able to turn something that's either a negative or something that we wouldn't see art in typically is so, like, I just think it's so cool.
Yeah, it's weaponized.
Yeah, I love it. It's so neat.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
But it's the least I can do, because the content that you folks provide and the stuff that Harvey has done in books and being a guest spot on all these other shows like the Michael Brooks show, I continually benefit from all of that. Every time I see one of your videos come up, I go right to it and I watch it every time. I might even watch it more than once. And it's just, it's the least I can do to, bring even a little bit of joy into your life. So I'm grateful.
I appreciate it. Love it. It does bring joy. Yes.
We all give and contribute something to this space, even though it causes brain rot in all of us most times in our own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts.
It does.
Is there any chance that you guys are gonna like have a physical version of this? That
I would buy it.
So I think this is good.
I suggested it, but Matt thinks the best thing is we bring out we do it instead, like if we bring out a comic book, not a full-scale graphic novel, but a comic book, that this could be the bonus piece at the end of it. But
I think anything we make can be an anthology of sorts. Like, why not, right? You can just have this is already a thing. Comic books do this already, so I think that would work.
Listening to the conversation, an idea did occur to me, Matt, about something. A long time ago, there was this. People were very fond of this. What would Jesus do? You know that expression?
Yeah,
I remember
and
that
then everyone,
expression.
and then people said, Harvey, you want to create bracelets to say, what would Thomas Paine do?
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking,
we'll do that.
That could be a series. We could do a series. What would Thomas Paine do when confronted with this or that?
And we'll make it a bookmark.
That's a good idea.
You can get with the comic book. So what will Thomas and people can gift those? Yeah. No, there's no end to the amount of stuff we can do, and that's what I was kind of saying earlier, was like you could take any one of these pages and break it out into its own chapter, like we do the Democratic platform of the 1960s in a panel. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that should be a chapter. So
you're creative like that.
And I know the way you just like it rolls off your shoulders, just
that's
like a bunch of amazing. That's crazy.
That's his gift.
You're also really quick. Like I am stunned at how fast you can turn things around.
Yeah,
but I'm telling you, it's nothing without the right collaborator. And Harvey is like one of these really generous guys who just keeps giving you all the great content. So if I'm fast, I was even faster in this case because I was so into it.
Yeah,
it's
actually
cool. He's an
we finished it
encyclopedia.
a while ago. And I've said to Matt, I said, geez, I miss you. We're not having these daily, we communicate daily, but we're not producing or creating daily.
Yeah, we will. We'll get back.
So you started producing this, or I get this idea came up before Biden was replaced by Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So
we were done by then. Yeah.
I'm just curious to pick your brains about like your thoughts about what's gone on in the Democratic Party. Like how much do you care about electoral politics? But like, do you feel like this shift would have maybe help to enable the kind of change that you're looking for in some way?
Oh, that's a damn good question.
I was curious about that too.
One of the advantages of history is that it enables you to challenge everything. It's because things have gone bad and when things got better. Now, in this instance, like even Tim Walz, okay, this question comes into my head. The one thing is, geez, isn't it great? She selected this kind of guy to be her running mate. And then I say, yeah, but vice presidents don't matter. That's my fallback kind of thing. Or then it's like, I'm convinced, because of the things that you noted in their campaigning so far, But then I read some serious remarks that she's literally already backed away from things that should be a part of any kind of progressive agenda. And she has yet to say, screw the corporate bosses who want me to fire is it Lena Khan?
Lena Khan, yeah.
Yeah,
Lena Khan.
at the FTC. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know if she's holding back. I mean, let me put it this way. She and he, the two, this Harris Walls team, they desperately need to read this comic book. I say that not, I say this not chauvinistically or immodestly. They desperately need this comic book. I would put money on it that he'd be willing to go with it. I doubt she would, but they need to read this.
Yeah, I think that progressives have a real opportunity to be taken seriously and to be heard right now. We always say like, oh, once they're elected, we'll be able to persuade them on certain things and push them left and all that. But how many times have you heard the media in the last week say, oh, she's not, Harris isn't doing interviews with the media? Well, she's out there talking to the American people. Right? Yeah. Like that alone feels like a game changer to me. So I think it's positive. I, of course, feel sick to my stomach over what's happening in Gaza every day. And I think, anyone watching that knows that a ceasefire is long past due, but it would have been worse. And we're always picking the lesser of two evils, but in this case, the other evils are really bad. And I think, our opportunity to, beat Trump.
Well, you can be assured that every night she goes to bed and she prays for a ceasefire because she does not want to enter this campaign having to deal with that question.
But but we see how, we've gotten more out of her, which sucks because, like I said, the bar is low, but we've gotten more out of her. Now, before we haven't seen her much, but now that she's running for president, we see her more active in a way that we haven't seen her as vice president. I feel like she was limited to just doing and being, of course, as vice president, but so many things. And we would only see her mainly when it came to Black spaces, but now we see her a lot of places. We even see her saying ceasefire, and that's bigger than what we've gotten. I will say, when we say the lesser of two evils, I don't even think it's that, because this ain't even a lesser of two evils. All politicians they got blood on their hands in some way, shape, or form. But if we're comparing this woman to Donald Trump, it's not even a lesser of two evils. Donald Trump is garbage. He's trash. He's very evil. Historically, we know that he's a whole felon, and she may have done some things that we don't agree with. But other than that, she's running for president. And I don't think it's a lesser of two evils things. It's just a person that we may not have agreed with things that she's said. But now we're watching every single thing that she does do. One of those things and subjects being Gaza, but it can't be the only thing because we still have the American people to worry about. Is the Gaza situation very, very that's a serious situation and we should focus on it 100%. But we can't just focus on just that. That's just the facts. She's going to be the American president. And while that is a big subject and we should not forget about it, y'all hear me clearly, because I know y'all like to take little tidbits and say, but you shouldn't say, no, we should definitely focus on it. There are other American issues that I want to hear that she's going to touch on as well. How is she going to handle those things as president as well? I want to hear more of that. So what I'm hearing and seeing from her is the most that I've ever seen. Do I want to see more and hear more? For sure. So that people know where she stands on different issues instead of just focusing on this one, which is important. But as president of the United States, what are you going to do for the American people? Yeah, we never stop fighting. It's not like if someone gets elected and we go, all right, well, we did it. Let's go back to chilling out. This battle is ongoing. If you're involved in politics, you are engaged, ongoing. That's just how it needs to be. And that's why when people say, they want to use the slogan, register to vote, I say register to vote in the primaries. Like, get in as early as possible. Like, you need to be, engaged all the time. And so
okay, yeah. I mean, it's like you said, like we got a whole felon as the option. Like that can't be the guy, right?
Mhm.
But like as soon as our preferred choice gets elected, then we keep holding them
The
accountable.
work
We
doesn't
keep
stop.
telling them what to do. Yeah, they work for
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah, the work doesn't stop. I think that's what we have been, especially on the left, the progressive side. People, we put somebody in office, and then it's like we got him in. Okay, the work doesn't stop here. We don't stop holding that person accountable. And if this person isn't doing it, we got to work these 4 years to start working and boots on the ground to get somebody in office in the next 4 years that's going to do what they need to do. The work does not ever stop. We're going to consistently have to keep choosing a president every 4 years. And if you think that we're just going to have her and just make history, then no, she still has to run the country. There's still issues that have to be fixed, and we want our leader to do something. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, she ain't gonna do everything we want. What president has, but at least in issues like to hold her accountable to issues that she said that she would work on, and is she working on them? Because we tend to get these people in office. We had somebody one time where it was like for the lesser of two evils type of vibe, and then it didn't work. And then it was just like, didn't this person say X, Y, and Z? And they didn't even. This is not what they're doing. And no, because we weren't holding them accountable. We just wanted it to be blue, and we just wanted it to be democratic, and but no, there's work. We can't just have it because it's a democratic pick. We can't just pick this person because they're making history. This is we need somebody who's actually going to do actual work and to undo the things that have been done by the Trump administration.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be very worried. Right now, I'm allowing for the fact they haven't had the convention yet. They don't have a platform yet. This is just the preliminaries. It's a warm-up time for her. But I'll be worried if they come out of this Democratic National Convention and the pitch is, I will fight for you. If I hear I will fight for you, it's over. I don't know if you all know, I was a principal advisor to Nina Turner in her campaign, the 2022 campaign for Congress. And she called me because she wanted to work on the Economic Bill of Rights. She made that the centerpiece of her campaign. And I said to her that if she went to Washington, she won, I was going to Washington with her. And the reason I said that is that she was my kind of candidate. You vote for the candidate who inspires the fight in you, not the one who promises to fight for you.
That's good.
Yeah. And I wonder, do we get a policy platform next week, post DNC or during the DNC? Is this when they drafted? And how does that conflict
it's probably
with the
drafted
current
already
president?
and being refined now, and they'll project it.
Do you think it conflicts with Biden's current policies or positions on things
Actually
like
conflicts?
Israel?
No, I don't think it'll conflict. The question is, will they? Well, the point is, I can't tell you how many times platforms go beyond what any candidate really wants anyhow.
Yeah.
The 1960 Democratic Party platform that we talk about in the comic, the one that Kennedy Johnson ran on, that was written by a man named Chester Bowles. He traveled the country seeking opinions as to what should be in it. And when he put it together, the entire thing was drafted, framed by FDR's Economic Bill of Rights. And he actually says in his memoir, Bowles, he said, I didn't know if Kennedy could live with it because he was no liberal. Kennedy was not a liberal. And he did in good part because he needed Eleanor Roosevelt's support for his candidacy.
We had a whole panel with Bowles on that page, and we were like, "That's just too much."
I know, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot more that we could do just on this subject.
I want you to know that if we had decided to do all the things we started to do and then had to
a lot
kill,
longer,
we'd have the book already.
Yeah, it was a lot longer. Yeah.
I feel like this is headed in the direction of a graphic novel, and just let me know when I could place my pre-order.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
But we take the money up front. That's all right. Don't worry.
That's fair.
Cash App, Venmo, whatever.
PayPal.
No, I'm going on record that if we get a good contract, I'm prepared to give the Letterhack a larger piece of the pie.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
Well, I did my work
50-50.
over years, and then all I do is get to sit down and tell you what to say. You actually work on
Whatever.
this stuff.
It's too fun to call it work. And when your work is the same stuff you do in your free time to relax, it's kind of hard to call it work. I got really lucky on that. But
I love
And
that.
since I'm not teaching in the classroom any longer, I get to teach to you.
that's pretty cool to be a
Aw.
one-person classroom.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times because Harvey will text you pages and pages of stuff just so you have the backstory and the history. And it's not boring. I'm fascinated by it. So it's, I'm getting paid.
Okay. I unfortunately I probably have to go because I do this every
I'll go
show,
too.
everything I do online.
I think we'll
is
be
in the
winding
same
down
room
soon
as well.
anyways, but
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us
it's
on.
been fantastic
thank
having you
you.
two on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed this so much.
It was nice. You guys rock. Look, I was here for 5 minutes, but y'all brought great vibes. Great vibes.
Oh, good.
And again, I will
Thank
link
you.
to
It's good to see you, Rebecca. Mike, it's great to see you after all
Great
this
to see
time.
you.
Yeah, it's been so long.
David, let me just ask you. I want to find out if I'm confusing you. Did you ever go on with No McKee at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
right,
was on her show a few times
where I
that
was
too
most
on my
familiar
show.
with. Yeah, because
Yeah.
in fact, we just had dinner, she and I, the other night in Brooklyn.
She's so sweet. Yeah, I love her too.
Well, catch us on other shows, but you guys got the exclusive.
That's
we
right,
made a
tomorrow.
point of doing that. We wouldn't hang
I
around.
saw y'all
town.
last night. Well, I saw you last night, Letterhack, when I popped
Yes.
on. Yeah, I popped in for a second, then my phone died. So
He didn't let me come on.
We're gonna circle back. I don't want to spam my viewers with my project, but Harvey and I will
I said, when
circle
are we going to
back.
talk to your own viewers about what we're doing?
We'll give them an exclusive on what's coming up next when we do that. So it'll be worth it. But yeah, thanks very much for having us. It was great.
Thank you. Really,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks for coming
Bye,
on.
y'all.
Coming on.
I hope to see you all somehow or other soon.
You
Yes,
will.
Absolutely.
it'll
See ya.
happen.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
Zoom
not
in.
the
Oh, that's
three,
close.
not the three lines. I feel like I'm
Oh.
gonna like it or not right now.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Ah,
thank you.
My face looks greasy right now. It's not
It was
good.
too close.
My
honey. I
face
was
is
like,
always
please,
greasy.
Back up. It's 10 p.m. It's
terrible.
get crazy up in here.
One piece of chocolate yesterday, and just that's it. My skin's broken.
Oh no! Is your skin sensitive to chocolate? Are you sensitive?
Oh yes, very much so.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate
Still, I'm like
chocolate.
I'm like a 17-year-old kid if I have chocolate. It's just
Oh man,
You hate chocolate, Rebecca?
I'm not. I like chocolate people, chocolate men especially, but I don't eat chocolate candy. Chocolate
God.
period. I know, right? Ain't that crazy?
I know
can't do
people like
chocolate.
actually progressive voices in the chat. I think he doesn't like chocolate either. He also doesn't like bacon though. So
He
he's
doesn't like
weird.
chocolate too.
or bacon.
I can
I'm a
understand
turkey
bacon,
bacon girl. I know,
but I
people,
can't understand chocolate. If you don't like chocolate, I feel like I'm actually offended by that. Like
But you can't-
I'm offended, Rebecca.
Listen, I clarified and say I like chocolate people, chocolate men especially, but the chocolate candy don't do it for me. Like it does not.
I like how you call it chocolate candies.
It's called chocolate. Like anything.
It's just called chocolate.
Chocolate ice cream. I had my nephews with me, and I just watched as they devoured it, and I'm like, they just wanted my nephew. We went and took him. He was super late. We took them bowling. I don't know why I kept them kids up. That took him bowling, then took him out to eat, trying to be the great auntie that I am. And there was one that's the youngest. He can't hang. He's just like, and I'm like, let's eat first. I'm up. And then I turned my back for 1 second. He's talking to the waiter. I don't know what he's saying to the waiter, but I should have known. See, this is how I know I'm not a mother yet, and I'm an aunt, okay? Because I turned my back for 1 second. He's talking to the waiter. I'm getting this kid together. And then he literally, the food came. Everybody has their food. This little boy has a double chocolate pancake with chocolate on top type of thing.
What?
And I'm looking at him and he's so tired, but he's like looking at me. And I said, when did you order that? Because now you're gonna have to eat it. But he ate it.
That's a smart kid.
His tummy the next morning was no good. He was no good. But I was like, when did he order that? He just waited till I turned my back for 1 second. He's fast. He got that order in, and
brilliant.
And then he was eating that chocolate on chocolate. and it was all over his face, but he was, as long as he was happy. But that tummy the next morning, it was not well. But yeah,
Rebecca, are you the kind of auntie that like they manipulate you? Because I feel like I'm easily manipulated by them.
They use me. They abuse me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to go to, they call me Tati. Oh, I want to go to Tati's house, you know, and we'll go there. They get here, they're just like little Spider-Men crawling up the wall. One's on his phone, like till God knows when, whoever he's writing on damn TikTok. And the other one is like just everywhere. The other one is sleeping with his body hanging off the couch because he's chocolate drunk. And they just use me. And then the next day they're like, where are we going next? And I'm like, we'll go here. We'll go. Where do you want to go? They like that I ask them, how are you feeling? Where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? Like their parents are like, you gonna eat this. This is where you're gonna go. This is what time you're going to sleep. Not me.
Yeah.
I'm more so, you know, what do you want to do? Let's talk about it. You know, how did that make
They
you feel?
prey on you. Like they
do.
know
They
if
use
they
me.
can manipulate you. Like for my nephew for his birthday a couple years ago, I took him to see a movie, and then afterwards I took him to the store to pick out something, and he wanted a Steam gift card so we could buy like some PC games. I'm like, well, all right, let's pick out a $20 Steam gift card. He's like, why don't we go ahead and go with the 30? I'm like, why don't we go with the $20 gift card? Because I have a bunch of recommendations. You can get 2 games around like really good games. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll check those games out. Let's get the 30 though, because there's another game. So we negotiated, and he got the 30. But
that's a negotiation. He won.
Somehow flawlessly.
Negotiation is 25.
What did you get out of that? How did you negotiate?
It was, I wanted to get out of the store, so I'm like, you know what, 30 it is. Let's go. And it's funny, I took him to there's this like frozen yogurt place, and they let you just pay for like a size of the cup, and then you could put whatever toppings you want on it. And
love those
it was
places.
so insane, the shit that he put on his frozen yogurt. Like fucking, he put Reese's Pieces, Butterfinger, gummy bears, and then there was like this little there's these big gummy sharks, and he put a giant shark on it. And by the time like it was done, this small little ice cream container was like $9. I'm like, Jesus Christ. First of all, how could you eat all that sugar?
Yes.
Second of all, I'm dropping you back off at home before that goes into your system because I don't want to deal with that.
They get crazy.
I feel like, yeah, he took it. Like these kids take advantage of you if you're an auntie or an uncle. They just know that you're cool and you want to be cool. So they're just gonna get everything they can. Yeah, that's what it is.
Cool. And my niece, her birthday was on August 11th. Shout out to my niece, Pasita. Her birthday was on August 11th, and she calls me. I called her on a regular line, and I'm saying, oh, you know, happy birthday, Pasita. She pressed the FaceTime. She's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, you know, happy birthday. How are you? You know, and she's just telling me about her day. She turned 11. And she's like, it's 11/11. I'm 11 on August 11th. So I'm like, well, what do you want? She's like, I like to do hair. So I was thinking something with hair. And then I heard her dad whisper something way off yonder. And she looks over and she's like, oh, yeah. And then she looks back at me. She's like, a viola. I said, so you want a viola? What's a viola? She's like, it's like a violin, a little baby violin starter. You know, I want that. First of all, the girl, okay. She's like, it's my birthday and you haven't came to visit me. And I just feel like, you know, you told me that. I'm like, not her using this.
Now the guilt's already starting.
Girl, I am out of a job right now. Little girl, she thinks I'm rich. She thinks I'm like the rich auntie. I ain't got it, but I'm not going to tell her that. So now I'm like, all right, we'll figure that viola situation out before end of year. You'll get it. But she's like, because I like to play the viola. I'm a gymnast. I'm a swimmer. And now I'm adding that to the list. Girl, okay. Using me. And her dad was like, he ain't getting it. So he's like, tell her you want the viola. Like, way yonder. That's how they use you. Even the parents are using you. They'll be like, I'm dropping you off at your Tati's. And they'll come and visit. And then they'll go do whatever they need to do. I have like a newborn, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, they all in my space. I'll be like, and then, you know, sit down. And they're just like, okay, yeah. And then there's like, can we just jump on the couch? Yes, but just don't put any stains. Look, me, I'm that type of auntie. I will take all of the kids. They will use me and abuse me. I'll give this baby an extra bottle just because she looks hungry. Like I am that type of aunt. Like the kids, I'll take them all. So
Bless
but
your
I hope,
heart, I cannot do more than 2 maximum, and it has to be like limited to like an hour.
oh no, they throw them at me. I be having them for a weekend or
Oh
like
God, yeah, that's
I
too much for me. I
remember
can't do it.
I remember I came to visit when I was living in New York. I came to visit down in Florida, and my 2 brothers had children, so together all 3. And in New York there was 4 plus the new baby. Pasita was new at the time, and up there I had them all the time. I would wake up when I would go visit them in New York, and nobody would be in the house. It would be me, a newborn baby, and kids that are asleep. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Oh my
those
God.
things are hungry. Like they're hungry. And I would have to like make food for them. Parents never call to check in. Then in Florida, the boys, my brothers, they would leave and not call and say nothing. There's a sleeping baby next to me in my bed. When did that baby get there? I don't know. And then like it'll be like 2 kids staring at me like, we're hungry. Now I got 3 kids. But I'm so used to that, and I love being an auntie. So I think I'm gonna even be a better mom. But I think I love being auntie. It's just that I let them do. I kind of give them free time. Like I remember my brother was yelling at his son, like like, hey, you should not do that. And he's like, come here, Jediah. There's like a little space in the house. Jediah was 2. He looks my computer, but Jediah looks over at me. And he floors it to me. I run with him in the bathroom and we lock the door and we save him from getting yelled at. So I'm like the greatest.
Okay, you're a better auntie than I am an uncle, because like the most that I do is like I'll take them to movies on birthdays, but most of the time it's like I'll just go hang out for an hour with the parents there, so I don't have to make any executive decisions. And if they get into trouble, then the parents are the ones that are scolding them. So I'm not the one who is the disciplinarian, but I still get the reputation of being the cool uncle.
No, I mean, but I know
I don't want the responsibility,
you're a dad.
but I want the coolness.
I have no nieces, no nephews. My only experience with any children ever is with my 1 3-year-old son. That's it.
Wow.
So
are you gonna have any more? Look, are you gonna have any more? That's a crazy question to ask.
No, definitely no. I know the answer. The answer is no. Neither of us want another child.
Okay.
I have 17 nieces and nephews, so
that's more than enough.
That's
work.
more
you
than
have
enough.
17 nieces and nephews.
17
Holy
nieces and
shit.
nephews. Yeah.
How many siblings do you have again?
I have 4 older siblings.
Oh my
so
God.
yeah, I'm the only gay one, so I'm not having any kids.
You don't want to. I mean,
Oh
you can
my
still
God.
have children. Like,
Oh
you
no.
Yeah, you can
I don't want it. I mean, I do have my
method.
my fur babies, which I think counts equally, but no human children. No human children. For me.
No human children.
Never.
It's 1 is a lot of work. I don't know how people have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I want 2.
1 is enough.
I want to.
Yeah.
I used to be real selfish when I was younger, young and fun and all that stuff. I used to be like, oh, I do not want no kids because I do not want to mess up my body. What kind of society told me?
See, I don't think that's honestly. I don't think that's selfish. I think that's a perfectly reasonable. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You can have a perfectly reasonable reason, or I think any reason is reasonable to not have a child. Like you don't have to. You shouldn't feel like bad for or selfish for not having children.
My thoughts have since changed. Like that was when I was younger. I said I was going to be like Sex in the City. I did my life in New York, and it wasn't Sex in the City with that money, but it was. I romanticized my life in New York. But and then when I saw the kids there, I said I would never. This is when I started to like shift a little bit. I would never raise a kid in New York City. You would never find me raising these kids. That's how I felt. And then later on, I was just like, okay, let me just get through my career, and and then I will probably have kids. But then you get older and you think about, I don't want to attach myself to that demon of a person, that person. And me, no, I need a real commitment before I drop kids into this world. And then now everything is expensive. Me by myself, I talk to my best friend all the time. She's a mother of 2, a great mom at that. And we will always talk. And I'm like, girl, I'm doing laundry for myself. I'm cooking for myself. I'm like, I have breakdowns every 3 seconds. How can I have a kid in my face like while I'm having a mental breakdown? Like, mom.
You don't have time to have a mental breakdown. You don't. It's just like your body doesn't allow it because you're distracted by having to keep this thing happy and alive. Like it's just
this thing, right? But
It's a whole different mindset.
I do look forward to being a mom. I mean, when I could have been a mom, I chose not to be a mom, and I'm glad that I had that choice. And then now I'm at a place where I feel like financially we ain't there, so we got to be there financially, because I'm not pushing no big head baby out into this world, because I'm sure my baby will have a huge chest, but I'm not pushing no big head baby out into this world and not be able to take care of my child.
Yeah, I gotta say, if I was American, I don't think, actually, I've talked about this, right? Me and my partner have talked about this. We wouldn't have had a kid if we were American. I don't like, just the cost of like birth and childcare, like all that shit is just. I don't know how people do it. It seems really expensive to have a child in the US. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, it's expensive. And then Black women, the high risk with infant mortality, and then the mother at risk. And that's a big deal in the healthcare here. A lot of the women are having to save themselves or get doulas because the healthcare system is so trashy. And so like, I think about that too. It's just like, I also don't want to be a single mom. So the dating pool is garbage here too. So I need to find a good prospect. I ain't trying to get knocked up, but you just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that at least it's never going to be perfect. I don't think anybody's ready.
No, you're not. No, there's no perfect time.
You may be a single mom and be a great mom. You may be, whatever. I don't know what the cards will look for, but I do really, really look forward to becoming a mother when I do become a mom. I'm going to be really fabulous at that. But I am, with whatever scars come with it, I'm still going to be cute. But back in the day, I used to be like, those things will not come out of me because I saw what it does to people's bodies. Like I would say,
it's such a huge thing. Like if you think about it, like pushing a human being out of your body, that is a massive thing to do. Like we don't really think about this enough, but like you're creating a human being and you're pushing it out of your butt. The toll it takes on you is gotta be so sitting on your bladder. Like that's got to be the most uncomfortable thing ever. You're not only feeding yourself, you're feeding like another like human inside. Like that's fucking insane to think about. Like it's like it's crazy to me. Like,
and then you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself because so that you get through the whole pregnancy term healthy, because it could it's life or death when it comes time to push out the baby. So you got to make sure that you're healthy enough. Or a lot of things happen. I know a cousin of mine, she had a brain aneurysm. So she had the baby, and she was out for like a month. She was out for like a month. And then when she came from that, she found out she had breast cancer. So, but she recovered from all those things. But yeah, it's like a whole, having a baby is, and I'm pretty sure if she would have known about the cancer, she probably wouldn't have chosen to have a child, like that kind of thing. But having a baby, I'm pretty sure is not an easy thing. And especially I've watched my best friend, she has 2. And again, she's an amazing mom, but she did a great job in taking care of herself during her pregnancies. She would be like, girl, I was craving this and this and this, but I made sure I only ate this because I want to make sure that this is a healthy pregnancy. I just don't want to go with the vibes of, I'm just going to eat everything up. I got to think about my body, my pregnancy, my delivery date, those type of things. And so it's a lot of things you got to think about. So it's not, and then they want to tell us what to do with our bodies and things like that. Well, help us take care of these kids then. Like what laws do we have in place to do that? No, y'all want us to have these children, and then now these kids are in these, people can't take care of them. Now these kids are in foster homes or whatever for people who can't take care of kids or whatever the case may be. But like having a child is a big responsibility, and
so huge. Even if I wanted to have kids, I would be too afraid that I would like all of my mental health issues would like be picked up by the kid. At the most that I would do if I had the means to and the space to is I would be like a foster parent to like a teenager who had trouble like finding a permanent home. That would be something I would do, but I don't have like the ability to do that.
That's probably much harder though. Like a kid that old or has already built like a lot of built-in problems. You got to be like really, exactly. You got to be like super ready for something.
I just couldn't do a little kid. A little kid, I feel like would give me so much anxiety because the tantrums, like I used to not like growing up with a lot of nieces and nephews and whatnot. Like the tantrums never really bothered me, but as I got older, it's like when the tantrums hit, I'm like, oh my god, I have anxiety. Like make it stop. Like I don't know what it is. I just don't have like I don't have the spine to deal with it, where it's like, oh my God, it has to stop immediately. Give them what they want
No,
right now.
that's when you have to do the what's going on. I love how my best friend does it. She's like, she has a breathing technique for these kids. I mean, they throw tantrums and she'll be like, let's breathe it out. And in the midst of their tantrum, they're like, she taught them that, and they do that.
That's
and then
funny.
they'll be like, she'll be like, why are you crying? I don't know why I'm crying. And it's like, let's figure out why you're crying. Like, let's
That's
go
so
with
funny.
that first.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
It's
that
actually
yeah, go ahead.
for me. It's actually that stuff hasn't been as tough as I thought it was going to be. Like for me, the toughest part is when he gets sick. Like it is just excruciating. Like you feel their pain. Like you can't, especially when they can't talk yet and you don't know why they're sick. That honestly, I can't think of anything worse. Like that's been easily the worst. Like the worst months of my life. I think it was like 2 years ago. I think when he first got sick, and it was like all summer he was sick. I missed like a week. I couldn't do videos for like a week because I was sick. It was just we didn't know why he was sick. It was just all the fucking time like sick for like 2 months. It was so depressing,
And
so
you can't do
excruciating.
anything for the baby.
Yeah,
like-
and on top of that, the area where we are, that like yes, we have healthcare, but there are problems in our system, and my area is not well funded. So we would end up in the hospital like again, it's free, sure, but we have to wait for healthcare in the hospital room. And it was a pain in the ass like that whole time. But in terms of like yeah, freaking out, sure he has those moments, but if you like sit and like you get to their level and you just like you talk to them slowly and you just ask them what's like you at least with my child you can reason with him and you could like really like get to the heart of
You have a good
whatever's
kid.
bothering him.
Everybody
You're a good parent.
Yeah,
You're a good parent.
But that's like it surprised me that that part isn't as tough as people make it out to me. Again, I'm sure
Everybody's kid is different.
everyone's kids are different, obviously. So I'm not going to say like,
Everybody's kids are
oh, I
different.
figured it out. All you suck. Like I'm not saying that. But for
Yeah.
me, that part's been easier.
Yeah, because I've seen where some kids are really good, but when they do break down, it's intense. I've seen kids that are not emotionally loud, but yet they don't play. These kids will fight you back. Okay. So it's just, I guess, depending on how you talk to your kid or even the kid themselves. All these kids have their personalities. And my mom always says it. She says each kid, she always says, shouts out to my siblings, but she always says, you are my kid that never gave an issue. Like I could take you along with me somewhere. She said, the only thing with you is that you cried all the time. Like if somebody would hurt your feelings and you just would cry about it. And I'm like, girl, get a grip. Like my mom would be like that, but she's like, well, you're the kid that would do, what was said. And when you go to school, I never had an issue with you. You would, you always did that. But she's like, I know my other kids. This other kid I have, your sister, I got to talk to her like, hey, chest to chest with that one. And that's how we communicate. So it's like, I guess, every kid has their different personality. And I guess, David, that your kid in different environments will, behave a certain type of way.
I also know why he like the only time he really ever has a freak out is in the morning when we're trying to get him ready to go to preschool. And like it's usually if he didn't sleep properly that night, he didn't go to bed early
That's
enough, he didn't fall
relatable.
asleep early enough, if he was on his tablet for too long, like that, all that stuff will, or if he had sugar or something, all that stuff could trigger him. So it's like it's from, and like to be fair, of course, there are times where I get like frustrated. I'm like, it not really in front of him, but I'm just like, shut up already. Like we got to go. Like shut up. But you have to remind yourself, like he's this way probably because he didn't sleep well or because he had maybe too much sugar or something. So you just have to kind of remind yourself of what's going on there, and then just slowly reason with him. And sometimes it's as easy as like he wants to lay down for 5 minutes, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna put the timer on for 5 minutes. When it rings, we're gonna get dressed and gonna go. And then he usually is like okay with that. Like he hears the buzzer, he gets to turn it off, and then he gets his clothes on. Then it's then he's calmed down. He's good.
I love that.
That's a good process. And like my best friend tells me that too. She's like, sometimes she'll say, "Do you want to lay down? Was that what you need?" Sometimes the kid's like, "Yeah, I just need to just lay down. I'm an adult, and sometimes I need to just lay down." So understanding that understanding your child in that way, and I think that is the difference. I think with millennial parents, we kind of won't want to understand, and It's not, oh, get up. It don't matter. You a 2-year-old, you going to preschool. It is like, no.
We're trying not to pass down the trauma that our parents
used
gave
to try
us.
that.
Yeah, we gotta. Sometimes you want it tries to trigger you, like, well, my daddy did. No, I'm not doing that. Hey, what do you need a second this morning? Okay, fine, cool. We'll give you a second. We're gonna go to school, but if you need a second, we can. Like, that's all they need. Sometimes they gotta process too. They got to process too. So, I think I'm gonna be a great mom. See, look, David, you're giving me tips and tricks. I think I'm gonna be a great parent.
The timer is a good trick. I'm telling you, just like, set, like, especially going to sleep or something. It's like, all right, you want your tablet? All right, 5 minutes. When this goes off, I take it back, and he's usually good with it. It's like, all right,
everybody gets.
That's actually pretty genius, because then you give him the power to stop the timer.
So exactly.
He's the one.
He has
that's
that power.
Brilliant.
And then you drive to the preschool and you get to the curb and you're like, here, take them. And no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Get them out of here. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm actually, there's only one time where we got to the preschool and he's like, no, I'm not going in. Like that happened one time. I had to call my mom. He had to talk to my mom on the phone, like a video chat. And then she was able to calm him down. And then he would go in. But I've seen, like, there are other kids where we get there and they're like screaming and they're like, I'm not going to school. Like the mom has to like sit there for like 10 minutes reasoning with them. It's like that luckily hasn't happened to me. Like I had that one time, that was it.
Some kids are just really good. I think that being an amazing parent really helps with that. But some kids are just like mild mannered. Like I feel like I was always much more mild mannered. Like, and my mom reaffirms that my memory is correct. Like, yeah, I didn't really throw a lot of tantrums. Some kids just kind of like are more laid back. Although I got all the anxiety from my parents like later on in life.
Say that
but
too.
as a kid, I was very chill.
Yeah, I think that too. I the older I get, I realize, dang, because I have anxiety. My best friend doesn't like when I say I have anxiety, but I deal with anxiety. But and going to therapy and having like a psychiatrist, being able to talk to them and flesh it out. I just remember my parents. I'm like, dang, having kids, coming from somewhere else, leaving your homeland and coming here and having a whole bunch of kids. I remember my dad would just walk away from us. We're all doing all kinds of things. And that man would just go sit somewhere in silence. He'll hit a cigarette and just have to take a moment.
That's how he recharges.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and all my dad has to do is a look and everybody's like, my mom was more of the person that, would yell and stuff. But my dad, sometimes he would just be like, like, let me go sit outside for like a good 15-20 minutes, talk to myself, hit the cigarette, and then
I feel that.
Yeah.
All right, we should get to super chats then. It is we actually got to super chats later than we normally do, even though we don't have Binder here.
Yeah, look at
wild.
Because I had to give y'all an extra 9 minutes. So
that was a good chat though. A good kid chat.
Yeah. Since I don't have, y'all know I still haven't gotten my super chats back. I'm working on that. They're telling me by October.
Jesus Christ, they're so ridiculous.
They're so terrible.
It's so terrible. But we're staying on the brighter side of things. So I just say, I'll keep continuing my content and working on that. But I dropped my first episode of my solo show, Shades of Good News. I dropped that yesterday. So if you guys haven't seen it, or you can head over to my page. Look, I'm all nervous about it. You can head over to my page.
Awesome.
It's called Shades of Good News. And I did that when I had the kids. So I did like a quick record. And I was like, let me just edit it and throw it out there, because as long as I start it, I can do the rest. So I didn't have my mic, just to let y'all know. So you hear a little buzzing in the background. That's my hot computer. It's a 2015 MacBook. So you hear it in the background going, it gets a little higher, like, because it's hot. It's working 6 jobs. But the great part is I got through and I did it. And so if you guys haven't caught it yet, it's called Shades of Good News. It's on my page. I'm super excited, and it's gonna be a weekly show with positive news surrounding Black people every Wednesday. And it's not gonna be long. I don't like to be before y'all long, so it'll be like 15 to 30 minutes each time. So so that's up there.
I love that. And it's good news too. Like, that's so necessary.
It's good news. Yeah. I want to do, because I need it for myself. And it's just good to like cover good stories, especially
Yeah.
when it's about us, because when it's Black people, our stories are usually super limited in how we're perceived in media. So I know that there are a lot of good things that I always run across it when I'm reading the news, but it doesn't go viral. It'd be like great stories that don't make it viral for these Black people. So, and it's all, I want to do it from all over the world. So that is where I'm at right now, and I'm super excited about it. I kind of dropped it yesterday in just like, hey y'all, it's gonna drop, and then I never looked at it. Like I never looked at it. I dropped it and said, see ya. And then, but then today, Olay was like, girl, why you ain't tell me you dropped this? I didn't put it anywhere. I just left it on the YouTube space. I wanted it to have an organic feel. It's doing pretty well. So for me, it's doing pretty well for my first episode. And it's not a lot of people, but it's enough for me. Even if it was one person that viewed it, that would have been just enough for me. It was just the fact that I did it. I know that my anxiety was very debilitating, and it almost made me feel like, girl, just do it. And then it'd be like, you can't do it. And then it's like, girl, no, you know how to do it. And it's just like, not to focus on the negatives in my life, but to focus on just doing this. And it was actually really freeing when you finally do it. And then it's kind of like, I've been doing this stuff, but because it's my own, it's like I felt like this is just, and then I finally did it, and I was like, girl,
you just do it. You get the ball rolling, and then the next one, do the next one, and then it becomes like a regular thing, and there you go.
Yep. And so
Awesome.
I did it. And so
I love that.
I don't have, like I said, super chats. A lot of people have been asking about that. No super chats, but I am, if you want to give, it's on Becca's Voice on Cash App and on PayPal, RebeccaAzor@gmail.com. Same thing for Zelle. So that, and I'm still working on Patreon. They were like, girl, you just a member on there. You don't have a real page. Okay. So I will work on that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But somebody did give Cash App, and I wanted to, David, thank you so much. David Mendoza and Christopher Stewart. And I'm so sorry if I'm putting your government name out there, but that's what's on here. But I love you guys. They all said, love you, mean it. And I love you guys, mean it. Thank you for your support. And I was glad to see you guys. I see your haircut, David. I feel like you got a haircut too, Matt.
Oh, yeah, finally.
But yeah, I see y'all looking fresh and young. Y'all still looking young. See, that's the thing about millennials. We got that good. All right, y'all. I'm out. I will see you guys next Thursday. Love you guys. Mean it.
Take
Bye.
care, Rebecca.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's show them how
blow
it's
through
done.
the shit. Yeah, we can blow through this in 5 seconds.
Let's show Binder how it's done. We will send this video to him, just the super chat portion, and be like, Binder, this is how you do it. All right. Then again, are some of these to Binder? I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out.
Yeah, that's true.
Donald James, member for 30 months. Oh my goodness, Donald, thank you so much for the support. Says, if we believe in justice and guaranteed housing, then we need to promote the new economic bill of rights. That is also what our guests are promoting. Abso-friggin-lutely. Check out their amazing comic.
Love that.
What's the Common Dreams?
Thank you, Donald.
Oh, is that to you as well?
No, this one must be to Matt.
I think it's exact. It's the. Oh no, sorry, I just went back to. No, is it the? It's the exact same thing.
Oh, okay.
So, thank you, Donald, again for whoever it's for.
Zeitwise with $5.99. Thank you, Zeitwise. Most ludicrous thing I read this week: the U.S. ambassador to Japan is boycotting a memorial for the bombing of Nagasaki because Israel was not invited. Yes, it's ridiculous until you realize who the U.S. ambassador to Japan is. It's Rahm Emanuel. So anything about him does not surprise me. So yeah.
Oh my god, why?
Guy's a dipshit.
That guy needs to be fucking just flushed out of American politics.
He
please.
won't fucking go away.
Go
Go
in the corporate sector. Like, go make money. Clearly, that's all you care about. Like, why the fuck are you here?
I know. Wanda with $1.99. Bender bucks for Mike. Hell yeah! Thank you, Wanda.
Wanda M. $1.99. Bender bucks for David. Thank you, Wanda.
Suck
that's
it, Matt.
Yeah.
No, we love Matt. I'm just kidding. Pinkerbell, thank you. Must be for Matt.
Dylan, thank you.
Asa Rosa with $2. Thank you so much. This is for Professor K. Your opinion on Carter. Well, he's not here, but he did say that Carter, he kind of helped to usher in this neoliberal era. So I think his opinion would probably be a little bit more nuanced, not necessarily negative per se, but he would have a lot to say about him. So I won't speak for him though. Tigwick with $10 Canadian. Thank you. Love seeing Harvey and the Letterhack on the show. David, please split this with Mike. Okay, David, split this with me.
Well, here we go. Tigwig, $10. Love seeing Harvey and Letterhack on the show, Mike. Please split this with David.
I like what you did there, Tigwig. That's funny. Not for me.
This is for me. Jeremy, thank you so much for the Canadian $5. Wall should lean into the Tampon Tim nickname since he was inserted into the race to help stop the red wave. Oh my God. I don't think he wants to get that specific.
Yeah, that's something that the creepers use.
Yeah, that's such a weird, bizarre, moniker to give him. Whatever.
Yeah, they're desperate. Moosey Cat Fluffs with $10. Thank you, Moosey. Very generous. Yes, again, LOL. But check out pro-labor Dan Osborne, independent for Senate from Nebraska. He led the Kellogg strike in 2021. There is no Dem candidate, and he's polling even with the MAGA Republican incumbent. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. I remember it was either you or somebody else mentioned him. But yeah, really interesting there. The fact that there's no Democrat and it's just an independent. And he's also very, he has a pro-labor history. That's really interesting. I will have to look into him more, though. Thank you, Kenzie. Appreciate you. Asarosa with $2. Thank you. Idea left tube watch party of the election. Oh, we're gonna do a big Leftist Mafia stream, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and actually next week, I think Benner said he's missing it again, but we're gonna be on during the speech at the DNC, like Kamala Harris' speech.
Oh, right.
So there's gonna be I guess a speech before. I'm not sure who. It's probably Obama or somebody opening for her, and then it's gonna be her speech. So
yeah, we'll catch her speech for sure. So. That'll be nice. Autistic Goblin with $20. Thank you. That's very generous. Y'all are warming my cold, dead hippie heart. This is such a wholesome community, and I'm here for it. TLH, you have such a good heart. The Letterhack, you have such a good heart. Well, I'm glad that we're warming your heart. Listen, a couple of months ago, you all were saying I was very doomer, and you're correct. I was very doomer. But look, things have changed, and sometimes we can uplift you, right? We'll bring you down, crush your spirits, but we'll also, we'll give you them highs too sometimes. So
we are a product of our environments, right? Like things get better, right? Then we're gonna be happier.
Right?
How it is.
You can't control it.
No. Looney Tunes 9,000. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Here's your payday. Enjoy. Don't waste it all. I will not waste.
Don't spend that in one place. Bay Photo with $4.99. Thank you. Just a reminder to double check your voter registration, as some states seem to be doing some shady voter roll purges. Yeah, definitely a good thing to remind everyone of. Make sure you're registered. You never know if something goes wrong. For me, it's super easy. In Oregon, we just log on and check online, and also we get our ballots mailed to us. So I've never had a problem.
That's
in Oregon.
How it should be.
Yeah, some states are really fucked up though. But yeah, always double check. Thank you, Tokyo Hans member, for 6 months. Looney Tunes 9,000 with $4.99. Appreciate that. Splitting the Binder bucks with you and David. Binder and Lance gets nothing this week because Binder and Lance are too busy getting drunk at Disney. Yeah, they're probably on Splash Mountain right now having so much fun without us.
Angela W, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian. Jack Layton has been on my mind so much lately. I want a politician like that again. Future Party. Canada is doomed. Well, we will see how doomed. I mean, I've seen some recent polling showing the Conservatives with a big majority government.
Oh no.
But the election isn't for a year and a half, or a year and a few months. So unless it's called earlier, but we will see. I feel like once people, I'm not going to say Conservatives aren't going to be able to form a government, but I think once people see Pierre Poilievre a little more, and there's a campaign going on, he's not likable. He's very much not likable. So I feel like their support's just going to go down. But it would help if Trudeau, was willing to step down and get replaced.
You need a Pelosi pusher. Who's your Pelosi who could push his dumb ass out?
Yeah, politics here is just different. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, I don't.
He needs to step down for the good of the country and party. He's been the not Labor,
Liberal.
Liberal leader for too long. Up in
Yeah,
the
for a very long
UK.
time.
Yeah, he's got to step the fuck aside. Nobody wants to look at his
Yeah.
face anymore. Us in America, we're
No.
sick of him.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to go.
Yeah. Justin Fan with $5. Thank you, Justin. I meant to send this last week. I registered the domain strong and .gay for you. Let me know if you want it. Currently redirects to your YouTube. No shit.
Strong and gay.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'll let you keep it because I genuinely don't know what I would do with that, but that's actually hilarious that
so
you
funny.
took that and you're serious about reappropriating that. I love that.
I would check to see, but I don't want to guarantee. I don't want to risk.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna give me a a little Trojan or some shit.
Yeah,
but...
who knows what we're gonna get from that? But that's pretty cool.
This one is not for me.
For somebody, Michael, thank you. Probably Bender.
Tokyo Hans with 2,000 yen. Thank you so much, Tokyo Hans. Kids are crazy manipulative. For nephew's 5th birthday, took him to Toys R Us, thinking of just some Legos. Walk out with stick horse, cash register, and a Darth Vader helmet with voice changer. Now 24, still uses now. I love that story. That's amazing. It's so true, though. It's so true. They tug on your heartstrings, they'll guilt trip you, or they'll just be really persistent. They know how to get what they want from their aunts and uncles. Prairie Fire. Thank you, Kowalski, for the $2. Oh, that is for you. I'm sorry.
Kowalski, thank you. David, all kids need one sibling plus spare kidney. No, he'll have lots of friends.
That's what the parents are for with the spare kidney.
He can take their kidney. Well, I guess it depends on. He might not want my kidney if I'm old and my kidney's fucked up. I don't know, but he'll have friends.
This was the Kowalski one for me. Thank you, Kowalski. To all the single ladies out there, I own a house. That's a very big sell. So, ladies, if you wanna get a hold of Kowalski, area code 603, phone number 04.
Wonder how close you were.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! Look, is this for you?
No, this is not for me. Is this for you?
Is Bender gonna have a bigger super chat for not being here than either of us? Is he gonna make more off of today's show than either of us will?
Oh my
Michael,
God!
I'm going to hack Bender's account to reject your super chat because he does not deserve this. I will not even read it.
That's the biggest super chat we've ever gotten on here, and he's not even here. And I don't even know what this means.
Oh man, Michael, he don't like cotton. I don't know what this is.
This is
I'm afraid of reading the rest in case I'm like bringing in the I don't know. This is like a seance or something.
Yeah,
I have
well,
no idea
the
what this
last
is.
name Reich, that is a little bit sussy to me.
That's a lot of money to give away, though.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
Well,
Bender.
Bender, congratulations. God
damn, biggest super chat ever. He'll be stoked though.
Apparently, a Nazi gave you a lot of money, so there.
Philip Schwartz with $2. Thank you, Philip. Will K-Hive, oh my God, I read that as K-Hive. Will Kamala Harris, I'm so terminally online, have better messaging on Gaza after the DNC? I don't expect her to have better messaging on Gaza after the DNC in particular, but she does need to develop a better way to talk about it. I will say that she was disrupted by protesters again, and we talked about the first disruption. The second time, much, much, much better. I think that she needs to be a lot more clear and direct on Gaza. And I know that as VP, she's not going to differ from Biden too much, but I think that she needs to be more direct, leave us a lot more crumbs about what she's going to do. If she would change from Biden, signal to us more explicitly that she would do that. There needs to be more because, again, there's a lot of uncommitteds right now in Michigan in particular that need to be committed. And aside from the policy angle, people are dying. So I hope that she does treat this with the seriousness that it deserves during the campaign. I hate the idea of having to wait and see until after she's elected what she would do. But,
I think there's a look, I don't want to give her excuses, but I think there's a fear that Netanyahu would try to entangle the U.S. into some kind of regional war if he feels like Kamala Harris is going to come in and immediately do something. If she signals ahead of time, hey, we're going to fucking end this by any means necessary. We're going to arms embargo or whatever. I feel like Netanyahu is incentivized. He wants to stay in power, right? He's incentivized to keep the U.S. entangled in this. So if he's gonna fucking start bombing Iran or some shit, or continue doing that, I guess I should say, then that it's just I don't know. So I think that's the fear there, is just if she signals too much what she would want to do. At the same time, I think it's fair to argue that how can you possibly that doesn't mean that she should be excused. There's still it's this catch-22 where she does absolutely need to say more, but saying more may make the situation worse. So
what she should be doing right now as VP is pressuring Biden to implement an arms embargo. He's a lame duck president. He could do whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't want to do that, but I think that she's very clearly not taken seriously by this administration.
Yes.
She's been marginalized since the beginning.
She probably has tried to use her power, and just Biden is fucking. He's
sidelined her. Yeah,
he is such a Zionist. He is so just stuck, blinders on in whatever opinion he made up about Israel when he was in the 1970s. He has not changed off of where his position is.
Yeah,
but this is his absolute worst issue. It's so wild. This has come up in the last year of his presidency. This is the absolute worst, his worst position that I think out of any position he has. This has to be his worst position.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it is
absolutely.
such a highlighted issue right now for the obvious reason.
And he's the worst on this issue in my lifetime. The only reason why Trump wasn't necessarily worse was because there wasn't a massive incursion into Gaza. There wasn't, the last time there was a massive incursion, it was 2014 when Obama was president. Trump was bad because he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He gave them Golan Heights. That was really bad and antagonistic. And I know that if he were in control right now, it would be just as bad as Biden. But Biden is the worst president in my lifetime on this issue, hands down. It's not even close. And the fact that he still hasn't cut them off really, I think, demonstrates that there's literally nothing Israel can do that would get them to stop sending them weapons. Biden just, the DOD just approved $20 billion more. It's genuinely sickening, and Biden is just a monster. But he's set in. He doesn't give a fuck. His heels are dug in. So it's really gross.
And I believe this is the last one. Tokyo Hans, thank you for the 1,000 yen. Just some money for a fellow father of a 3-year-old. I truly feels. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Before 11 o'clock Eastern time.
What the hell?
We have completed this podcast. This is a record. We should get an award.
It can be done.
It can be done. And
so now you all know when you talk about how late Bender and I go, you know who's the problem, okay? Because it'll be great rhythm, going fast, and then somebody will be like, oh, hey, Matt, let me ask you about wrestling. And I'm like, oh,
I was just going to say that. Remember when Macho Man Randy Savage wore those pants, those green pants? Oh my God, I remember that. It's 20
and then
minute
Matt goes through
rampage.
the specific history. He recalls every detail. The audience members, his encyclopedia brain is activated, and
and then he'll bring up new scenarios that weren't even brought up in the question.
And we love Matt, but when we want to get out, we want to get out.
He's made to take calls. That's his show, right? It's half of that is just taking calls and talking to people. He loves doing that.
And his stamina is just so much greater than mine.
I don't know how he does that with more children than I have.
Listen,
in the same time zone that I'm in. Insane.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's not even that late for me, but after a certain point, my brain shuts down and I become Joe Biden. I cannot think. I just need to veg out and play video games or watch TV. I can't keep talking because I just I don't know what's even happening, what words are coming out of my mouth. So
we ended so early here that I may even have time to play a half an hour of Metroid Prime Remastered, which I'm playing right now. It's really good.
Oh hell yeah, I might have time to play it as well. What the fuck? This is crazy.
Look at that. We got time to play games. This is amazing.
We can do something fun. Wow.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone watching for watching and enjoying the show and supporting us as well. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching us, and and hit the bell notification icon as well.
Yeah.
Be notified.
All that fun
All
stuff.
Right. See you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
See you, Mike.
See ya.